if
Hello,
it's
everyone.
but
What?
hello. Yeah, I don't know if it's me
Well,
on my
anyway,
end or you guys, but I've got a lot of breaking up audio.
oh, I think that's
So
just you if you want to try to fix your audio. But for people who are joining, we're doing an election watch party virtual event. So we're just going to sit here and hang out, chit chat, answer any questions that you guys have, and watch
okay.
the results come in. And if you have any questions or comments, or if you want to put who you voted for in the chat, please do so. And you'll see your comment come up on the right side of the screen there. But other than that, we're just here to hang out and see what happens. So,
Yes.
do either of you have predictions?
If I could start first, I believe that Mike Teixeira will win. I think by a few percentage points. I'm only basing my prognosis on the fact that, well, Donald Trump nationally, he is at 37%. He is way below that in New Jersey. So I expect that Donald Trump, especially the current government shutdown and the controversy over the food stamps and everything involving um, the Halloween party, right? That was controversial, and the latest was that the Donald Trump basically wrote in his Truth Social that people are not going to get food stamps until the government reopens, and it just the other part, of course, is that he. Also wrote that if any of the stores they try to offer food at discounted prices to people who receive food stamps, that those places that they will never ever get food stamps again. So a number of stores have backed out and stopped offering, food at reduced prices. So I think all of these things happening in the last few days. Donald Trump also endorsing Andrew Cuomo, who, just recently the Republicans were saying is the worst possible human being pretty much on the planet. I think all of these things, I think this will just further damage the Trump brand in New Jersey. Not that it's already damaged, and I think it's gonna hurt Jack Ciattarelli. My opinion is that Jack Ciattarelli, when he accepted the endorsement for Donald Trump, I mean that was always going to be an albatross around his neck, and it was always going to be based on Donald Trump's popularity in the state of New Jersey. And given that it is low, I think it's gonna do him in, and Mike Teixeira will be elected governor. That's what I think is going to happen.
So I want to pipe in on this. I kind of agree there. We especially as libertarians, we know that Trump campaigned on one thing, and what he has given us largely after his election has been another. And I think that Trump was supposed to be populist. It was all about making as many people happy as possible, getting as many people from as many sides as possible to vote for him. I believe that Donald Trump did win some more moderate Democrats. I think he did get from some of those people. And I think that he's alienated a lot of those kind of voters post his election. And I believe that you're going to see most of that sort of thing in places like New Jersey. New Jersey is a blue state. It doesn't matter whether it flips red. Sure, I mean New Jersey has elected Republicans in the past. It's not unheard of for New Jersey to elect Republicans to the governor's office, but it reverts to blue, and it tends to stay blue. It's an overwhelmingly blue, overwhelmingly Democrat-dominated state. And I think that Trump alienating some of those Democrats would have them rethink whether they would be willing to continue to vote Democrat now or vote Republican now in this election. And I believe that influences whether people think that it would also influence what whether people would be willing to continue to support Donald Trump, because I personally believe that Republicans in New Jersey are a lot different than Republicans in a lot of other places, especially this being a blue state. I think that we do have conservatives here. We obviously have conservatives here. We obviously have Republicans here. There's lots of them. They are the Republicans are the second largest political party in this state, obviously. But the sort of Republicans that are here might get turned off by Trump and what he has done after his election. And they may not be willing to vote for Jack Ciattarelli, since he accepted that endorsement from Trump, and it's been very vocal about it. He's Trump has declared that he's completely endorses him 100%, and that Ciattarelli is 100%. And I think that hurt Jack's chances more than if he would have, say, just kept quiet or not solicited or not accepted an endorsement from Donald Trump. And if Jack does not win tonight, I think that will be a major reason why was accepting that endorsement from the president. And I think that's actually that will be a major reason why. I can't give any numbers. I haven't given any thought whether I think it'd be 4 points or a landslide or anything like that. I do think it might still be a little bit close. I don't think it's going to be a huge win for Maggie Sherrill, but I think that endorsement from Trump will actually injure Jack, as opposed to if he were to run as a Republican, appeal to the sort of Republicans that we have in New Jersey, and kind of get through with that. Because after 8 years of the idiot that we've had in Trenton now, it should be very easy. It should be extremely easy to get a Republican elected here. And this taking that endorsement is actually going to injure that. Now, I am aware of some of the numbers for our candidate, Vic, over the last, or our gubernatorial candidates over the last several races. I think that because of some of the things that have happened during this campaign, not necessarily with Vic, but with some of the other parties, I think that Vic is going to perform extremely well. That one I will give a number. And I don't have a problem. I know someone say that's crazy. That's not good. I think that Vic, you, sir, I think you're going to break 2%. I think you may go as high as 3% in this election. And that's what I want to see. I want to see a number like that that's really historically large for us as a party in Jersey.
Well,
Yeah, I don't have much to add. I pretty much agree with both of you that Mikey's going to win. This is a blue state. I can't add any further comments. I do also agree with you, Destin, that Vic is going to do extraordinarily well, better than most Libertarian candidates do, generally, but at least at this level, this high seat, maybe not locally, but I don't know if I would go as high as 2%. I hope so. Actually, I hope, Vic, you win. I would love a Libertarian governor. That's I always shoot for the stars. You will win. I would like you to win, but realistically, I think you would at least be more than 1%.
Yeah, well, thank you. That would be nice. I know it's early. But I think, I mean, at a minimum, I was hoping certainly to do better than the previous Libertarian gubernatorial candidate. Certainly, and it looks like I could. At this point, obviously, it's very early. There's a lot of other areas, a lot of other places to be counted. So yeah, I would hope that I would certainly break that. It's not beyond the realm of possibility. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I do agree with Dustin. I mean, Mike. I think Mikey Sherrill is going to win. There's, and I've said this before. There's also this thing talking about the trend, right? Every time we have an incumbent in the White House, whatever party that is, typically, right, the person who wins the governor seats is from the opposition party, because you end up having more of those people turn out to vote, right? So this becomes a referendum of the president. So whoever the president is, the in New Jersey elections end up becoming a referendum on the president, and because Donald Trump is unpopular in New Jersey, this is why I made a prediction a while ago that Mike Sherrill will win the governor's seat. Now, and if you look at the actual trends, 1989, 1993, 1997, 2001, 2005, 09, 2013, and 2017 were all years where the party opposite of the one in the White House won the governor's seat. Now, 2021 was a close election, and 2021 kind of was sort of it could have gotten the other way. But fact of the matter is that Murphy won by 3 points, and I think that it was also a crazy election given COVID. But now we have Donald Trump in the White House. He's unpopular. 37% the latest poll in New Jersey. It's lower. I would have been shocked absolutely if Jack Ciattarelli would win. So I safely sort of woke up this morning believing that Mike Sherrill will win the election. And so, yeah, that's what I expect will happen. It's really, part of it is going to be a vote against Trump. The idea that, yes, in New Jersey we're in a recession, but so are people in 90% of the United States. I think going into this, I thought it would be more likely that people will blame the state of the economy on Donald Trump and not on the current governor, Phil Murphy. Because, like I said, 90% of the country is in a recession. And I think that, and even I think some of the people that voted for Trump, as Dustin, you referred to earlier, they're coming sort of realizing that, things are, going badly because of the policies of this administration. So I think people are realizing that, people can see that. And, one can't live in a bubble and pretend that the, prices are not increasing or things are wonderful. And, I'm sure there are some people who live in a bubble and would like to believe that, even though that is not true. But I think that, as you, Dustin, mentioned earlier, some of the even people that voted for Trump, they have kind of backed off and they are disenchanted now with the Trump's presidency.
So we do have a comment from
So how much do you think, now Vic, to ask you this, how much?
Sorry, Dustin, I think there's like a lag in the sound, but.
Oh, sorry.
Absolutely.
There's a comment. Would you like me to comment on the comment?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. And then Dustin, whatever you wanted to say.
So it says the fact that this is from Jim Tassone, the fact that we are likely to continue to be a one-party state in the legislature and the executive does not bode well for controlling expenses and reducing taxes and debt. Well, yes, I agree with that. But even if it wasn't the case, we would still be dealing with the same situation. Recall, of course, that we had Governor Christie, who was a Republican, and we had a Democratic legislature, right? I mean, it didn't make any difference, right? I mean. So in fact, we had a Governor Christie, of course, who, advertised the fact that he loved working with the Democratic legislature and how well they work together. So I'm not sure, it would have made any difference at all. I mean, and that's the thing, right? So it doesn't matter who's sitting in the governor's seat. We had Governor Christie, who is a Republican. We had the same issues that we're having today. Like, nothing has changed. I find it really funny how you had Jack Ciattarelli, talking and criticizing the Murphy administration for the same things that were occurring during the Chris Christie administration before him. I mean, it's like it doesn't, and this is, I see this on a state level, of course, and the same thing we have going on the national level, right? The party that's out of power criticizing the party in power, and then once they get to power, you still continue having the same issues, right? All of a sudden, it's the it's like, oh, the Democrats are really terrible, or really, like, what was going on during the the administration of Chris Christie, right? We had the same issues going on. So it's not that I don't agree with it. I just don't think it really matters whether there is a Republican who's sitting as governor or a Democrat. We're still going to have the same problems in New Jersey we've had before, because the Republicans or Democrats are not trying to offer anything new to the people of New Jersey in terms of solving the problems that people are facing. In terms of the housing that is unaffordable. I mean, none of them were running on anything similar to what I was running on, which was trying to reduce the number of homeless people by giving people access to affordable housing. So, I mean, by working with local governments to change some of the zoning regulations, none of them ever mentioned that, and none of them actually offered what I offered when it comes to lowering energy prices. Now, it was a big issue in this campaign, which is giving people choices by ending the state monopoly on our energy, just ending the state monopoly, giving people the opportunity to choose any types of utilities they want to choose, instead of having the state decide, well, these are the choices you have. We're going to severely limit the choices that you have, and then you're going to pick among those choices. Well, no wonder the prices are so high on energy, right? So, I mean, I was running on a platform that was very different from the one that Jack Ciattarelli and Mikey Sherrill was running on, because I was actually telling people, I mean, my platform was about, well, this is how people are going to be helped with these policies without raising anybody's taxes, right? People complain about us having the highest property taxes in the country, and that is true. Well, what I was offering, not just to allow local governments to lower their property taxes, but also to lower energy prices, right? To lower housing prices, to lower them. So it's very, to me, it doesn't really matter who sits in the governor's seat, as long as they tackle the problems that people are facing. And we've had both parties in charge sitting in the governor's seat, and none of those issues that have existed 5, 10, 15 years ago, none of them have been resolved, or none of those problems have been alleviated in any way. So this is why I was running in this election, because I just didn't see either the Republican or the Democratic candidate or candidates offering some of the solutions that I thought would really help the people of New Jersey, that would actually solve or try to alleviate some of these problems that people are facing. The reasons why, also some of the people have been leaving the state of New Jersey because they just did not find it affordable. And talking about that topic, I mean, people were leaving the state under Chris Christie. People were leaving the state under Governor Murphy. I mean, it's New Jersey just becoming less and less affordable, regardless which party is in the governor's seat, unfortunately.
I think we lost Dustin. Hopefully he comes back.
Yeah.
So there's still only a 22% counted. And I do have the district results, and they haven't counted any in Sussex or Warren, it looks like. So I don't have any results for my district, and then District 8 is the same. So no updates for the state assembly races, although there have been a few uncontested races, which I guess is kind of bad, because it's bad when people don't have choices on their ballot. What do you think of all these like bomb threats and the machines going down and all these things, or like your statement not ending up on any of the websites, and like the Socialist Workers Party's statement is on one of them and not the other? Like there seems to be a lot of disorganization in this election. What do you think?
Well, I definitely agree that there's some disorganization, this election. I do find it really something that is really recent in terms of the bomb threats. I mean, I don't remember in the previous elections having so many bomb threats. So this is, I think to me, and I understand that they've arrested this one teenager, but I do believe that while that is the case, I would say that there's definitely a much higher level of polarization taking place in the state of nationally, and also in the state of New Jersey. And so when you have this really high level of polarization, I would say that it's understandable that some people are taking it kind of one step further. Now, of course, I have absolutely no evidence that these bomb threats are. Now, is it okay if I ask him? I don't have all the information, of course. Are they saying this is a work of just one person, or?
The last I heard was that it was actually a juvenile, so a
Mhm.
kid, and that they caught him, and that's it. So I basically have as much information as you do. I don't know how serious. I mean, a bomb threat is a bomb threat, I guess, but I don't know. I don't like you said. I've never really remember this happening before, and so it's not just polarization, but like the people are just getting really almost like desperate for something, you
Right.
know. And I guess they think violence is usually people's first move when they want radical change like that, which is unfortunate. So I think that's kind of what's happening.
I mean, that very well may be. I mean, I would say that. I mean, that we're of course not at a point of people shooting each other, and thank God for that. But yeah, I mean, I've long talked about the concern I've had that there's been definitely an increase in support of violence, and of course, bomb threats is bad, but it's not on the same level as violence, political violence. And there has been definitely before the last year's presidential election, there was definitely, as polls showed, there was a significant increase in the number of people who thought that political violence was acceptable, and that is something they supported. And I've always found that to be highly concerning, that you've had an increase of support for political violence, also had an increase of support. So I'm by the way, this is why I'm not at all surprised in terms of what's been happening this year. An increased large support for specifically among a certain group of voters for essentially ignoring the Constitution, and closing down, sort of going after the media in terms of even like arresting journalists, which we haven't gone to that point. Thank God for that. But and just openly violating the Constitution, ignoring the Constitution. So there's also there was this certainly public support for that, and that's understandable because there's openly there was on the high level a call for just violating the Constitution and ignoring the Constitution, and this is what. So it's not surprising that there are more and more people kind of decided, well, if this is what's coming from the top, then we should support that. I do find that to be concerning. I think that unfortunately, with everything that's going on in this country right now, and not just in New Jersey but in other states, with massive, with large scale, with protests around the country, I'm concerned is that we are at a point where it's almost I almost feel like tensions are so high and people have very strong feelings that I hope not, but my concern is that a spark could set the whole thing off. That is my concern, and I totally understand, of course, is that as expected, as one would expect in such circumstances, one group of people, they'll be blaming it all, on violence from the other side, when it would be, violence would be started by one side, but then the other side will say, aha, you see, well, this is why the other side is so terrible. This is so predictable. Which is why I've always believed and I always supported the idea of having a president who would try to bring the country together, not to turn one group of people against another, because that's exactly what's happening right now, and it's being done, I think, on purpose. Because of course, as long as people fight each other, as long as people at each other's throats, Republicans and Democrats, as long as the polarization is purposely being driven to its climax, that as long as that is happening, then people will not work together. People will not try to solve the problem, try to come up with solutions. Well, talk to each other, instead of be fighting each other and not fighting the real powers to be, right? The people who are really responsible for this mess. and it goes far beyond the president, goes far beyond Congress, it goes far beyond all those people, because there are common themes that are true for all these sides, and why the American people are worse off economically, why they're getting poorer. And this goes far beyond the two major parties, because it has to do with our Federal Reserve. It has to do with central banking. The reason why people are getting poorer is because of the rise of inflation. So those are the real powers to be, not the actual politicians. They're just following those policies, and the real the real reasons why people are impoverished are go beyond them. And that of course works to the benefit of the people in power, because they can blame the other side. They can blame they can do that instead of and they would love and they enjoy people actually going after each other, calling each other names, instead of, like I said, pointing out to the real culprits of the impoverishment of the American people, including the people of New Jersey as well. So that's how I feel about it.
Welcome, Bruno. And Dustin, I do see you that you're waiting backstage. I'm waiting for my my desktop computer to cooperate, and then I'll change the layout and add you. So sorry about that, but now we were going to have all the candidates here, including Bruno. So thank you for joining us, Bruno.
Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight?
Good. So we were talking about predictions before you joined. So what is your prediction? Probably the same as ours, but
For New Jersey, it seems that the Democrats are going to win. Most definitely not surprising. New Jersey is very liberal. We are a if not the state of immigrants. So to have candidates that are backing the current administration, and all of the roundups and all the illegal seizures and detentions that current administration is having. So to tie yourself to that movement in New Jersey, I think that is political suicide. Look, Vic and I were both immigrants, right? And so many people I know in this great state, so many great people who are immigrants themselves. And I really think that was not the smartest decision that Jack made to tie himself to it. So that's my prediction. I also predict that the Libertarian Party, we're going to do pretty well. It was since the ballots went out, it was great to hear so many people saying that they're supporting us, that they listen to us, they read our platform, and that they're behind us. So I got people who were Democrats, people who are Republicans, people in other third parties, coming to me and saying, I'm voting for you because I believe that you guys are the best option. So I think that for us as libertarians, as a third party, with all the challenges we have, right? I don't think Vic was on the stage with the other two candidates, right? So now we have Republicans already complaining about, oh, this election is going to be stolen. Well, welcome to the third party, my friend. We got no exposure. We're not on the debates, right? We need to make our own presence be felt. So, how can you even complain, right? So it's interesting. It's interesting, but one thing I could say, I'm proud of all the efforts that Vic put in. I know that he breeds the libertarian platform, and he wants nothing but the best for the people of New Jersey. So Vic, thank you so much for everything that you did, and let's see. We want to kick ass, right? So I think we're gonna get there.
No, thank you for that, Bruno, and you're absolutely right. We've trying to do our best here. I visited all 21 counties. I kept my promise, and I stuck with the Libertarian platform. I wanted to represent the party. That's why I decided to run. But I wanted to give voters a choice, and I I figured that, look, I mean, my position on immigration is very much in line with the party's platform, and I was offering something that neither Jack Ciattarelli or Mike Sherrill was offering, right? Making the presence of ICE null and void in the state of New Jersey. ICE, which is an unconstitutional program, right, created, of course, during the George W. Bush administration as part of the Homeland Security Department, and of course, under U.S. Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, the federal government has no jurisdiction over immigration or only naturalization, which is citizenship. And of course, before the federal government even got involved in it, the immigration state governments had their own immigration policies. That's the history of it. And of course, with the proclamation of 1763, when the king decided that there should be no settlers west of the Appalachian Mountains, the colonists were really upset about it. Of course, the King George wanted to avoid any type of conflict with Native Americans. That's why he did it. But the colonists were upset about the king trying to restrict immigration. That's why they, one of the reasons why it was not put in the U.S. Constitution, of course. And of course, we were a young new nation. So why would they want the federal government to, make sure there were fewer people in the United States? It certainly didn't make any sense. And actually, from the Alien Sedition Act, when the federal government did deport people, criticize the government, very similar, by the way, to the current Trump administration, absolutely horrible. And the Chinese Exclusion Act, where the federal government decided that, well, we don't want people coming from China. Between those periods, the federal government was not involved in immigration period. So I have history on my side, and I have the reality on my side, is that the federal immigration policies have made a total mess out of immigration by incentivizing both undocumented immigration, which is why we have so many undocumented immigrants in this country, because of the policies of the Republicans and Democrats in Congress and the Republican and Democratic presidents. They're the ones who are responsible for this mess. And people who said that they don't like my immigration policy, they have to realize too that there is this mess that exists because of the immigration policy that they themselves support, because they support the same restrictive immigration policy, which is the reason why we have so many undocumented immigrants. So me trying to solve the problem by telling people, look, let's have background checks, and let's, if somebody wants to come to the state of New Jersey, let's come to the state of New Jersey. They think my immigration platform is crazy. Their immigration program is completely insane, which is we have so many undocumented immigrants. And what's worse right now, we have families being broken up. We have children being deported to countries they've never been to before, and we have American citizens, the people born in this country, being terrorized. Okay, so when people say they voted for this, my question: did you vote for the U.S. government to attack people who are born in this country, to declare war against the American people? Is that what you voted for? Because the only way you can have 3,000 arrests per day is if you actually have a police state in this country. It was obvious from the beginning, and it was obvious right from the start that actually what the federal government is trying to build in this country is a police state, while using the excuse of undocumented immigration. And you see that with the spread of Palantir and ICE, that's actually right now, I know you guys have heard, are actually building a system of a visual identification of people that would extend not just to immigrants, but to U.S. citizens and people born in this country. So they're building up a surveillance system while using the excuse of fighting undocumented immigrants.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
that's a great
someone's
point.
mic is too close to their mouth, because we can hear. I'm not sure who it is, but we can hear breathing. But I got Dustin back on the live stream, so welcome back, Dustin.
Oh, we're back. Hopefully that's not me.
Welcome back, Dustin.
Let's find out. Hello.
So before you dropped, you were going to say something, Dustin.
You're muted.
I was going to ask, and it may have been addressed to my short absence there. I was resetting my connection. I was going to ask Vic how much, I guess anyone here, how much do you think the Democrats going after and getting the Green removed from the ballot? So now the Green Party is running a write-in campaign, an active write-in campaign. How much do you think that influence is going to influence VIX VIX vote totals once everything is counted. Do you think it'll make a significant deal or a significant difference in the number of votes? I mean, taking into consideration that there are a lot of people of every party who don't necessarily follow politics, but do go in and vote, or at least not follow closely and do go in and vote. And how many people do you think went into the voting precincts today, expecting to vote Green, and didn't find a Green Party candidate to vote for? And do you think that they would have just said, "Well, there's not a Green here," and voted for a Democrat, or do you think that they would stick to voting for a third and vote for Vic?
Well, that's an interesting question. Thank you for that, Dustin. I think that I'm sure that some people did perhaps voted Democrat, but I mean, it is an interesting question, right? And I do think that some of them I'm sure did vote for me. I'm sure they get some of their support, but I'm sure that some of them, not seeing a Green Party candidate, left it blank. And some of them wrote in Lily Benavides. I'm sure that's what happened. I mean, I don't know the breakdown. What would have been the breakdown of this? But just there are voters, of course, that would, when
right.
There's no Green Party candidate might vote Libertarian. But there are other group. I'm sure people who are Green who would never vote for Libertarian, and there's those Green Party candidates. Now there's actually, I'm sorry, there are Green Party voters that would vote Republican. Now I know it sounds crazy, but I know that looking at Jill Stein's support from last year, actually the second choice of the Jill Stein voters was Donald Trump, not Kamala Harris, and that is. That it may not be something that people would necessarily conclude, but given the dynamics of the 2024 election, where Donald Trump tried to present himself as a peace candidate, I guess it's not, it's not really such a crazy thought. Sometimes what people assume is not exactly the way it turns out to be. I know there was also a study of the 2004 election, and Ralph Nader, the third, I guess this would be the third time he ran in 2004, that because of the reduction of the number of Democrats that were willing to support him in 2004 compared to 2000, he was actually getting more of the Republican support with the reduced support that he did have. But actually, people make certain assumptions, and even regarding Ralph Nader, the votes that he got in Florida, many of them, a number of them came from Arab Americans who, at that time in 2000, for the most part, voted Republican. So people make these, but also I'd like to say about the Ralph Nader really quickly about 2000, just to finish up with that. When Ralph Nader was at 6%, there was actually a University of Minnesota, I believe, study that showed this. When Ralph Nader was at 6% in the polls, and by the time of the election, his support dropped to 3%. The people that he brought in with him, who would not have otherwise voted, many of them gravitated to Al Gore. So instead of actually hurting Gore, Ralph Nader ended up helping him. That without Ralph Nader running for president, Bush would have definitely won, and he would have won by certainly. Well, if you think that Bush lost, that's fine, but he certainly would have won by a bigger margin. And so when people make certain assumptions, the political analysts and whatnot, it's like when they say, for example, things like libertarians, quote unquote, take votes away. A lot of times this is not based on any kind of exit poll data and any signs. They just make statements that are just, they're making statements in terms of what they want to believe, not in terms of what the reality is. And many of these times they end up being wrong. That's all I want to say about that. I have no idea where the people that did not see a Green Party candidate, where the percentage of the people where they parked their votes. But that is a good question.
So I have an update from District 24. They've only counted 2% of the votes, so they're not close to being done. And I'm at 0.7% with obviously the Republicans in the lead with 25%, but they've only counted 2% of the votes. So, but to add on to Dustin's question. We talk about how third parties all the time have such trouble just getting treated the same, even in a legal sense. Like I keep bringing this up, but Vic, your statement did not end up on the website due to incompetence. I mean, I don't want to say that it was done on purpose because I have no proof of that, but at the very least, it was negligence, and that probably did hurt you. Third parties have such a hard time getting a fair shake in these elections, on top of also just in general being a third party. People don't really know what the Libertarian Party stands for versus the Green Party versus whatever, Conservative Party, whatever. And on top of that, so on top of being a third party for Lily, on top of that, she's not on the ballot, right? So even when a Green candidate who usually votes Green goes into the box and doesn't see her name or doesn't see a Green candidate, the chances of them writing her in is probably very low. Aside from probably Green Party members who are active in their own party, I don't see her getting any write-in votes. Dustin, you're a write-in candidate. I don't know what your experience is or if it's difficult, because every single day that we campaign, we hear, "You're never going to win. I'm not going to waste my vote on you." So we're already fighting all these barriers. And then on top of that, Lily is not on the ballot. And unfortunately, I do think the judge made a poor decision and it should be appealed because that's going to affect all third parties going into the future. But that's for a different conversation. So I don't think her writing campaign, as much as I'm sure she worked for it to be active and try to put her name out there, I don't think it's really going to affect anything, because I don't think people really understand how writing candidacy works, first of all, and they like to see someone's name on the ballot.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I'm sure she got a number of write-in votes. I'm not discounting that. I don't, but I think that in terms of how people vote and how which way they vote if the person's name is on a ballot. I mean, there are studies regarding specific, certainly candidates. I mean, I've seen exit poll data that goes back to 25 years ago, 25 years and more. And I know that for the Green Party candidates, talking about Jill Stein, I mean, I can definitely mention her. In 2016, when she ran in 2016, so there was definitely a kind of a plurality of the votes coming from the Democratic side, a smaller number coming from the Republican side, but it was actually quite similar, the breakdown between her and Gary Johnson. But there's also a large number of people who would not have voted for any of the candidates if they were not on the ballot, and that is certainly true. Regarding, I can tell you about Libertarian Party candidates, as exit polls have shown over and over and over again, a large number of people, when they did not see a Libertarian Party candidate, simply would not vote. And that we're talking about up to 40% or more, 45%, and this is just the reality. And that is because many of the people who vote Libertarian, they have certain political views that don't feel are being represented by the candidates from the Republican and Democratic Party. Like, if you look at my platform, for example, no one can argue that my platform, I mean, sincerely argue, honestly, not like, that my platform is anything similar to what Jack Ciattarelli or Mike Sherrill ran on. You can definitely see that my platform is quite different. So, I mean, I think anyone would be able to see that. And the one guy that interviewed me that claimed that he agreed with everything, it's like, I know you did not. Like, I know where you are politically, and don't tell me about you. It's like, come on, I know you don't. And then that's fine, and that's great, because I felt like I offered voters a different choice, something different, a platform that was different than the one that was offered by Jack Ciattarelli and Mike Sherrill. And so, I mean, otherwise, what's the point of running if you are similar to the other two candidates? The fact of the matter is that, I am different. I was running on a different platform that focused on individual liberty and protecting rights of individuals. And that is a very different platform that Jack Ciattarelli and Mike Sherrill ran on. That's a very different platform. They ran on the opposite platform. So I was glad that I was able to give voters a choice. And in the end, that's what it's all about. It's not always about winning. When libertarians run presidential candidates, right, winning should definitely be the goal. I believe, and certainly winning something that will be really, really great. But you're also spreading the message. You're also letting the voters know that there are other positions out there, that there are actually solutions to some of the problems that we're facing that are not being offered by the Republicans and Democrats, but are being offered by us. And if you agree with those solutions, if you agree with our positions, then please vote for us, because every vote cast for us, right, it's a vote for something, right? It's a vote for actual real change. Because we've had Republican and Democratic governors before, and things are not getting better, things are getting worse. Cost of living is getting higher. More people are leaving the state. People can't afford it. People can't afford housing. And here I and Bruno, we're offering a very different platform: how to make housing more accessible, more affordable, right, without raising anyone's taxes. It's a platform that would, if implemented, would bring real change and improve the lives of the people of New Jersey. And so I was glad that I was able to do this and run this campaign and offer the voters of New Jersey a real choice. So there was a comment.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm sorry.
That's very well said, Vic.
So this is what Jim.
Yeah, that was
referring.
from Jim.
Yeah. So there was 40% would not have voted at all, 30% would have voted Republican, 30% would have voted Democrat. Yeah, I believe those were like about those were the breakdown. I think it was slightly more from the Democratic side, but not by much from Hillary Clinton. But they're about the same within the margin of error. And actually, in looking at the Chase Oliver's campaign from last year, it was also, the breakdown was about the same too. Excuse me. I mean, I think when they used the ranked choice voting, the Fair Vote did a study, and the support came, like, if it came down to two candidates, this of course where most of the Chase Oliver's voters would have just been under ranked choice voting would have been lost, because they would not have supported either candidate, most of them. But the ones that would have, they split up pretty equally between Harris and Trump. So. But large number of them would not have supported either. Like as Chase Oliver said, when he had to pick Harris or Trump, with a gun next to his head, and he said the gun would go off, right? So
I do have an update for District 24. 21% of the votes have been counted, and I am at 1.1%.
That's really nice.
All right.
That's great.
Right.
Yeah. So Bruno, do you have any thoughts so far?
Yeah, I mean, Vic had made so many important points, and I think access is the one that always comes to mind, right? That we don't have the same access as everyone does, and polls do show, as Vic just said, that if we're not there, people won't vote, right? So now imagine what us not having the same access as the other candidates does for the libertarians to actually come out and vote. Right? Because if we're not in the media, if we're not knocking at that door specifically, they don't know that we're running. So it seems to be purposeful not to have us included, because then they know that those people stay home and not vote, right? So it's a very simple game that they play, where they just pretend that we don't exist, and that's pretty much it, I can't quite remember which news agency was in New Jersey, but there was a news agency earlier on that was making comments about, the primary for Jack and for Mickey and all this other stuff. And I made a comment and said, hey, are you guys going to be this active once the campaign starts, once the libertarians are fighting for the seat? And they said, yeah, of course, we equal opportunity. Well, I haven't seen one word about Vic or myself from that news agency. So obviously they know about us, right? I mean, they're the news. They're supposed to know about us, right? but they don't give us not even one word. So, that most definitely surpasses people coming out and people voting for us, right? So that only means that we got to work twice as harder and 3 times as smarter. So, and I think that that's a good way for us to win. And Vic made another fantastic point, which is, people say you're never going to win. Are you happy getting 1%? Right? That's not the point. At least for me, the point is to educate the voter on other solutions, right? People don't like to be talked down, and I feel like Republicans and Democrats, they talk down to people, right? It's kind of like talking to children. But Vic was out there having conversations and putting his ideas and showing people why they should vote for him in such a well thought out way, right? So a lot of it is educating the customers that, yeah, there are other choices. Here's what we think the proper solution could be, and here's what we would have done differently. So it's very important for the Libertarian Party to be out there and to be talking with people and to be present and made our presence be felt. So I think that as we go forward, as we keep fighting the good fight, we're going to be able to impact more and more people, and that hopefully we could get a lot of more libertarians come forward and have a lot of more libertarians join us in the fight, and that we could have some good results. Maybe at the local levels, maybe that's where we can make the most impact and really help people. People are hurting, financially because of high property taxes, high gas prices, high food prices, right? So I think that libertarians could help people, and we could help them with what they're suffering the most, which is financially right now. The attacks on the farms. We know that there was that farm, I think it was Cranberry, right? That farm that they wanted to eminent domain. So things like that. Our platform is completely against that. So if people want to preserve their land, if people want to preserve the farms and have your neighbors still keeping their land, libertarians have the best platform for that. And New Jersey is New Jersey is probably the worst state when it comes to eminent domain. So I know I had a lot of people personally that I knew that everything was taken away from them. Oh, this is for progress, we need to build condominiums, and it's like, yeah, but you just took everything that they had. You took all of their opportunity cost away, right? So, us as libertarian, we have a platform that protects the individual, protects their property. That we believe that people have the right to protect themselves. So, I think that we have a good platform. We just need to speak a little louder than everybody else because we don't have the access that everyone else has.
Yes, totally agree with you, and absolutely 100%. Yeah, so we just gotta keep keep fighting, keep spreading the message, and this is also important that I think that people will continue to look for other choices, to look for other alternatives, and yes, people that do support us, they do want something different. I mean, some of them have gotten disenchanted with the Republicans and Democrats. They see that things are not getting better, regardless of which party is in charge. They see that voting kind of for one party hasn't achieved anything, and some of them can kind of look back and say, well, things are not improving. Whether the Republicans or Democrats are in charge, things are getting worse, and so they are looking for those other alternatives. Even though, yes, we have obviously all these forces kind of lined up against us. There are people who want to vote for a winner, right? And so when people think about that, sort of the whether or not life would actually improve, kind of those thoughts go out the window. People kind of have this hope that, well, if I vote for Republican, if I vote Republican, life will improve. Even though that in New Jersey, clearly that if you've been around in New Jersey for a while, lived in New Jersey, you can see that things have not gotten better, regardless of the parties in charge. So Clearly, doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results, well, that's not that's not very wise. And there are people who have came up to that conclusion, and that's why they're looking for alternatives. And some of them are supporting us, and I think that's great.
So I want to talk about something that Joseph Dunce had put in the chat earlier, that he's curious if Vic, if you're going to do better in the cities around him. And I want to get you guys' opinion on where do you think you're going to do the best? Because what I've noticed is that even like my district, Sussex and Warren, tend to do really well. Libertarians tend to do really well here. But the people who I would have thought would vote Libertarian or have in the past are now voting Republican. And the people that have never voted Libertarian or third party in the past are now voting third party. And I noticed that with your campaign, Vic, when we spoke to people in very urban areas that tend to vote Democratic were very interested in your campaign and even said that they would vote for you. So do you think that things are changing in that way going into the future?
Yes, thank you for that. Well, I think from the polls, I've seen I'm definitely attracting a lot of voters who are unaffiliated. And in terms of which, independent voters, which way are they actually voting in the past? There are some people that have, definitely voted Democratic, maybe that are supporting. Some have voted Republican. But I think that I probably would, appeal to, and the question was about some of those more Democratic areas. Yeah, I could definitely see. Not really because of anything that I was trying to gear towards, right? I think it's because of the dynamic of what's happening in 2025, because you have a Republican in the White House, and being for things that are for sort of disagreeing, for example, with the president on a whole bunch of policies like immigration and trade and. Right, so that because of the party that's in the White House being against those things, the policies of the Republican president. If you're talking about presidential politics, certainly my position on immigration, that ends up appealing to voters that obviously may not necessarily be Trump supporters, right? Although I have gotten some support, some people who are registered Republicans that have voted for me. So. It is, I would say that I'm guessing I probably have attracted a number of Democratic-leaning voters, but I think that is probably true for a lot of, I'm talking about, a lot of campaigns that Libertarians have run, certainly on a presidential level. I know that Chase Oliver, when he ran for president, I have no doubt. I understand that there were some people who voted Democratic that like his candidacy. And the people who voted, Republican, they like his candidacy as well. So yeah, I probably had more appeal to the more Democratic voters, but also Republican ones. I know that there are definitely registered Republicans that support me as well. So I think I'm definitely bringing in the mix. I think in those areas in Bergen County, I could see that there's probably I could see myself kind of appealing more. Where those voters would find me more appealing, giving my stances on some of those issues like immigration and others. So yeah, I can definitely see that for sure. Certain type of voter would probably, if you had like a libertarian running like me, like running in the very much like of a MAGA territory, and that. Perhaps that wouldn't be the most appealing thing to those voters unless they can kind of overlook my position on immigration, for example, and some of the other issues. But I'm running as a libertarian, and my position on immigration, like I said, is very much in line with the Libertarian Party's platform. So it's not like I'm changing or anything like that. That's what I stand for. But I should also point out that if you're looking at the Republican Party, for example, right, the Republican Party. Of the yesteryear, even under the George W. Bush administration, he was very much wanted to kind of give a chance to people who are here in the United States, give them a chance to stay instead of deporting them. And of course, that was kind of a shutdown by his own party in Congress. So the Republican Party has definitely changed with Donald Trump and took a very pro-tariff stand and when it comes to trade and so a whole bunch of other issues, and that is not and I think that and I was very clear where I stand on federal issues, is that it probably would have the most appeal to like a typical Trump voter, because they have Jack Ciattarelli to vote for. Jack Ciattarelli, of course, promised that he would support Donald Trump's policies and he would double down on deportations in the state of New Jersey. And not just that, when it comes to criminal justice, he would undo everything that was done on the level of criminal justice when it comes to the cashless bail and when it comes to when it comes to civilian boards. We talked about it, Lana, and on the last show that was certainly a real fear that both of us had about Jack Ciattarelli, that whatever progress that was done in terms of criminal justice, that Jack Ciattarelli promised that he would undo that, and that was certainly a real concern on both of our parts. The comment. Also, there's a comment from LeBron. I would say yes. So, suggesting running for other office. I mean, I would definitely consider that. Because I think that somebody like me, like I said, would appeal to voters in certain areas, but maybe not so much in others. So, yeah, I can definitely see that.
So I'm going to put up LeBron's comment since you made a comment on it. And to respond to it, yes. So I say this to candidates that want to run with the Libertarian Party all the time. You can't just run once and stop, because we're up against so much as a third party, and also as just a regular person who's not a millionaire, who's not a town celebrity or county celebrity or state celebrity. You need time to build name recognition and money and support. And, Vic, every time you run, it seems like you get more and more support. And next year is congressional races. A lot of people don't know this, but you do not need to live in the district that you are running in. So like congressionally, I'm in District 7 and I could run, in District 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever. So in doing that, you can strategically run in districts that potentially could support you more. So if you do better in more Democratic areas or more urban areas, then if you want to run for Congress, maybe you would run in that district. So yes, that's definitely something to consider. And we have had candidates in the past who run for office and they do an active campaign, meaning they're putting money towards it, they're talking to people, they're knocking on doors, and it's a lot of work, guys. And especially if you don't have millions of dollars to just throw at ads that pop up every 5 seconds on the TV or on YouTube or whatever, you're putting in a lot of work in a campaign. And for third parties, particularly libertarians right now anyway, that could mean you put all this work and money and get 1%. But if you don't stop, people will start recognizing your name and recognizing your campaign points and start looking into you. And over time, you should improve. Also, libertarians tend to win local seats. And I'm saying all this in case there's somebody out there that's in New Jersey who wants to run for office with the Libertarian Party. We can help you do that.
Yeah, no, Lana, absolutely. Thank you for that. I absolutely agree. And those are the winnable seats. Certainly the lower the level of the race, the more the seat is winnable. Like I said, regardless of what support I was going to get, and I wanted to give voters a choice because ultimately I think this is about democracy in the end, right? So I think that voters should have more choices, and voters should be able to vote for the candidates they support and the candidates that they agree with, aligned with when it comes to issues. And then people who don't believe that, and clearly the state legislature this year wanted to make sure that fewer people got on the ballot. Of course, they wanted to do this to the Democrats who were running for governor, kind of a wean out the Democrats that were trying to get on the ballot because they had their own preferences. But they also, this was going to affect minor parties as well and independent candidates. So clearly there's no belief in democracy. It made it more challenging, and as a result, fewer people were able to get on the ballot as a result. And I think this is, at the end of the day, I could have said, I feel so great that, hi Dustin, that all these candidates did not make it on the ballot. I don't feel great about it one bit, because it's not about me getting whatever percentage of the vote. It's not really about that. It's about voters having an opportunity to vote for the candidates that they support. And the less, the fewer candidates there are, I think the more this undermines democracy. Because this is something that maybe the people in the legislature and Governor Murphy may not understand, is that when the people's choices are being thrown out, right? People feel disenfranchised, right? They don't feel like they're being represented, and when the people don't feel like they can change, they have a voice in democracy. I mean, that ultimately hurts. It hurts those people, and if people are not giving a chance to democratically express their opinions, that doesn't make those people happy. Just creates more tension in society, right? I mean, taken to its ultimate conclusion, this kind of insistence that people shouldn't have choices, which is ridiculous, by the way. You have choices when you go to the store, but somehow you shouldn't have choices when you vote. I mean, what's up with that? Life is supposed to be about choices, but I mean, taken to its ultimate logical conclusion, then there shouldn't be, in countries like North Korea, there's only one political party, because the government says they shouldn't have any choices. You shouldn't have any choices when it comes to food. You shouldn't have any choices when it comes to voting. And I've heard people say that to me, like, I think people should have choices. Well, no, not this year. Like, what do you mean? It's like life is about choices. What do you mean people shouldn't have choices, right? I mean, in a country like North Korea, there's one choice. So like I said, ultimately, I think what happened to Elisa Benavides, I thought there was an attack on democracy, that she was removed from the ballot. And it's just not fair to the voters that wanted to vote Green, that they did not see her name on the ballot. And I felt about these other candidates that didn't make on the ballot as well. Because their petitions were challenged, and they did not make it on the ballot. It's not about me getting whatever percentage of the vote. At the end of the day, yeah, it would be nice to get more support, but because guess what? I'd rather would have had like 6-7 candidates on the ballot, and me, maybe I would have not be getting the support I am. Maybe I would be getting less, but you know what? It's not about that. It's not about that. It's about it's for me to give people a choice, and it's about other people also being able to give a choice to the voters, other candidates being able to give choice to the voters. And when those candidates are not there because the Republicans or Democrats decided that they're so obsessed with power that they don't want the people to hear other voices, well, this really undermines democracy and really undermines the voice of the people, because the more you're going to have the Republicans and Democrats trying to silence the voices of those people who disagree, I think as more people are looking for alternatives, as more people are getting disenchanted with the Republicans and Democrats, I think this frustration, the concern, my concern is that not just that this undermines democracy, but this frustration will boil over. I mean, ultimately, if this continues, because more people are getting frustrated, more people don't like the choices that they have, that they're being presented with where they're being told to vote for. I think stifling dissent would just lead even to more frustration, to a point where this dissent might very well boil over at some point.
Yeah, no, great point. And what I find interesting is that earlier this year they changed how many signatures you need in order to get on the ballot, right? And funny enough, their logic was that there's too many choices on the ballot, so we need to reduce it. Well, I went through it, and there are about 70 fully uncontested races. 70. So how can you say that there's too many people running, but then you have such a large number of races that is just not contested? Like, no one is filing petitions for it. I've seen whole boards of education there just don't have anyone at all. And I see another one where they had a proposition to reduce the number of members in the Board of Education. So this directly is impacting local communities, impacting the small towns in New Jersey where they don't get any representation at all, and they might not even fill these seats. So everyone's complaining about education, but they're allowing the government to mess with what's the most important, which is the people stand up and say, hey, I want to run. I want to be part of something important. I want to protect the kids. I want to be able to have a saying in our kids are being educated. But government keeps passing all of these different legislations that are hurting that participation, where it's hurting, parents standing up and having a voice, right? Finances is probably one of the most important things in New Jersey, and then education, I think, is second or third. And seeing so many open seats that no one's even running at all is like, well, are we really helping the communities? Are we really helping the children? Are we helping the parents? The answer obviously is no. So, whatever rhetoric they use to keep us away from the ballots, like the Green Party that suffered, like Dustin that, is also, kind of kicked off with the challenge. Those hurt the people, because now you don't have your local representation that you should have, right? But like you said, the choice. Life is all about choice. Unless you think that an authoritarian should take over, which seems like we're kind of going that way, right? One man to control trillions of dollars in commerce every day, right? But it's interesting that choice is being taken away, and even within our platform, and like I said, with education, is all about choice, right? Why should the government have 100% control in saying what our kids should learn? That should come from us. That should come from the parents. That should come from the local communities. Local communities should be able to make that decision. But if we're making the point of entry too costly, no one's going to do it. So then what you have is, the top, you have the government just mandating everything. And that's not the way that this country was founded. And it's not the way that we should go, right? You spoke earlier about immigration and King George, implementing immigration laws and all that, right? Well, I think we fought him and we won, right?
Yes.
So I think we should keep those bad ideas aside, because that's not the ideas that founded this experience, the American experience. So, I think that we need to speak up, and that people need to be brave and raise their hand and say, hey, this is not okay. So hopefully the whoever gets elected is a little less of a authoritarian and does allow for a third party to come and, present their ideas and be visible. Everybody wins with that, right? Ideas is what makes us win at the end of it. I would never run a corporation and say, I don't want to hear from anyone else. Only my idea matters, right? No one will run a corporation that way, because it's gonna fail, unless you're Steve Jobs. But that's a different story. But most corporations are not run that way, right? So, and government and communities should be run with options and choice and with everyone's input. So, it's going to be interesting going forward, and we most likely have a battle in front of us. What they did to you, to your statement that was never presented, that's nasty. That's absolutely nasty, right? And I don't want to hear from Jack, oh, the election was stolen. I don't want to hear from Republicans when they lose, complain about like you physically were like, you were not able to present your ideas to the people. They physically stop you from that. So talk about stealing the election, right?
Yeah, no, I agree.
You have a fan. There you go.
All right,
We love you, Jake Kaplan. I also think it's funny that you and Bruno are apparently, you own the exact same house.
Yeah, it's one of those model houses,
Yeah. I also just want to note that, a lot of times Republicans or Democrats will ask libertarians to drop out mid-race because you're taking too many votes, or the opposite, you're never going to win, all those sort of statements. And they when they ask us to do that, or they're like, as Vic was saying, why do you run? Are you happy with your 1%? Why don't you just run as a Republican or a Democrat? You do better. You probably win. Yes, we want to win as libertarians, but they miss the point of us running, and that is,
Yeah.
as Vic had illustrated, is choice and education, and also challenging the candidates. That's a very important thing, and it's extremely valuable that people don't really pay attention to, is that we are challenging the candidates, and more people need to challenge the duopoly and their candidates, because the more that we don't, the more uh, uh, engraved they become in our lives and in the system. But I want to hear from Destin, because you did make it on the ballot. If you want to quickly go over that, because there were some questions in the comments about that, and kind of your experience or your perspective on running a write-in campaign.
Okay, so as you know, I did not make it on the ballot. I agreed to remove myself from the ballot back in June, and that had to do at the time. I had a volunteer that I had with my campaign, and some of the signatures that volunteer had given to me may not have been any good. So with that, the Republican Victory Assembly Victory Committee, I think what they called, they challenged me. They challenged me off the ballot, and back in June we went over it. And got to the point where we realized that we could have been there all day, and the likelihood that I would have still had enough signatures to qualify for the ballot was very low. So rather than spend the entire day and go through and end up getting stricken from the ballot, I decided that it was best to go ahead and withdraw my direct nomination for the ballot today, for today's election. My experience, what I found, this was my first campaign ever running for a public office. I've had a couple of private offices within some organizations before that actually involved campaigning and things like that and actual elections. But this was my first run for a public office. It was, first of all, it is the most convoluted thing you could ever imagine, from the paperwork and the stuff the things that you have to file and all this other stuff. Like, this is my first time. Vic, you've done it a few times. Bruno, I know this is, to me, as far as I'm aware, this is at least your second time. Lana, you've run multiple times. You've kind of got it down. Me, this is my first time. I'm still not even convinced that I did everything right. I just kind of have this kind of a fear in the back of my mind that I'm going to get a letter from ELEC saying, "Hey, you forgot to do this," or something like that, or "We need to see this paperwork." And I'm going to go, "What paperwork?" But I think I got it squared away. It was extremely overwhelming. The job itself of getting the signatures just to get on the ballot is a lot of work. I know that I think Jeff was in the crowd earlier. He worked with me a little bit, so he understands that's a lot of work to get those signatures. We all do. Vic, you had to get a lot of signatures to get on the ballot. That was the hard part. The campaigning is actually kind of easy. It's actually a lot of fun. I had a incredibly good time going around and talking to people about what I had decided to campaign on. And if you remember, I kind of had a heavy focus just on land use and land access, public land access, and talking to a lot of people and finding out that so many people actually felt the same way about it. They couldn't believe just how much restriction the state had placed upon access to land by the general public, and how much land they had. That was another thing. A lot of people were surprised at just how much was there and how much they were not allowed to touch. that was another thing that that people were surprised with. One thing that happened during that process while I was still actively campaigning, we discovered a camera, like a surveillance system, that the state of New Jersey, the Department of Environmental Protection, had put up using wireless cameras out in the forests. And I had some good support around. Everyone knew kind of who I was and what I was doing, why I was running for office, that sort of thing, and sort of the groups I was reaching out to. And the day I had somebody, one of my supporters, sent me a message and said, "Hey, I found this," and sent me a picture of a camera up on camouflaged, hidden in a tree. And I said, "Well, that's crazy. Anyone should have a problem with this, but as libertarians, we have a special place for government surveillance. And how we feel about that sort of thing." So I brought it to the attention of a couple of nonprofit organizations that were kind of in the same, fighting for the same things. And I went public with it. And it was insane within a day or two that the presence of these surveillance cameras out in the forest, the amount of public outrage, it was kind of like a turning point, where before it was myself and a group of people that were going around saying, "Hey, this is really bad, man. Look, the government, it can't take access to land. This is public land. You can't take this away. It should be available to everyone. We know that they have ulterior motives and stuff. This doesn't have anything to do with saving the environment. This has to do with money." And that was reasonably well received. But the day that those cameras got found out, that I used kind of my position, my soapbox, if you will, to bring to the attention of the public the surveillance that was going on out in that state forest, it went crazy. There was people all the way down in Georgia that were talking about this, and how ridiculous it is that we can't go into these wild places, even the forest, and get away from government surveillance. You can't even go out someplace where you don't have cell phone coverage. We don't even shoddy cell phone coverage, and then think that you're alone and think that you're able to just relax and be outdoors, and then look up and see a surveillance camera that's been watching what you're doing. Why are they doing this? Are they looking for me to break the law? Are they looking to see who it is? Is it even the government? Is there not somebody hiding, waiting to see if I'm out in the woods alone? No, that's really, really sketchy. And it caused massive outrage. That one particular post on social media, the first one about those cameras, within 72 hours was shared 60,000 times or something like that. It went viral fast. And it was right about that time that suddenly I got noticed. Shortly after that was when things kind of changed a little bit. And that was brought to the attention of one of the major parties. And after that was when I was challenged from the ballot. And then within 24 hours of my challenge from the ballot, one of the major parties had pretty much mirrored my entire campaign, which was focusing on that land access. And what's really cool now, the reason I did it was because I wanted that. I wanted to make this an issue that was recognized statewide, that voters are actually going to go and vote on, because it's important. South Jersey gets overlooked. We don't have nearly the money or population density that the central and northern parts of the state have. So a lot of the issues that impact us directly don't get addressed as well as stuff from the rest of the state. And I wanted to bring that to a state level and get people to notice, get people in North Jersey, someone in Newark, to be concerned about whether or not they can actually enjoy our forests. And it was when that happened, that's when suddenly it changed. That's when the move to kind of take over, I think they realized that there was something going on, and that there was some movement going on down here. And if they didn't do something about it, they were going to have some trouble on their hands. And after that, some individuals developed apps to track the cameras. We found out where they were. RFIs were scheduled, I guess, OPRAs, I guess we call them, in New Jersey were sent in to track down, whose cameras are these, who paid for it, who authorized this, that kind of thing. And now, if you go down into Atlantic County or around Wharton State Forest or whatever, the Republican Party has signs up everywhere that say "Free Wharton," and vote for our candidate. When before that we hadn't really heard anything. It was kind of this afterthought that they weren't really paying attention to. They were more talking about money and other stuff, and that does it showed me that you don't necessarily have to win an election to have an impact on the you don't have to win an election to have an impact on the political climate in your community. Sometimes you just have to kind of to make a presence. I use that soapbox, and even though I was tossed off the ballot, and was sent to the write-in world, now that turned into being a major issue. They actually are campaigning on it. They're actually going to have to address this, and if they don't, they're going to have, depending whether I decide if it's going to be a year or 2 years to fix this problem that they chase me off the ballot and promise to fix. And if they don't, then I'm going to do it again. And this time, the people that said, okay, we'll turn around and we're going to vote Republican because, the guy that was standing up for us, he's not going to be on the ballot, but the Republicans said they're going to fix it. If they don't, I will get back up on that soapbox again, and it's going to be a little bit harder next time for that major party to get their votes back if they want them. And I don't at all. I don't have a problem with taking those votes if they're not willing to actually pay attention to and listen to what voters in South Jersey and District 8 want. And that's I have to decide myself. Will it be state senate? Will it be assembly? Whatever the case may be. If I do, and I need to bring this up again because they have not done what they promised to do in June when they had me removed from the ballot, so I would not be able to take it. They went to go get their votes back. Well, I will take them again, and I'm going to take them again if they don't fix this problem that they have now promised to fix.
That's a great point.
So again, to reiterate, if anyone that's watching, if you've never run for office, you don't have to run and expect to win. You can make that impact. Sometimes, you can run for office with the hopes of kind of manipulating the other candidates that maybe have a better chance at winning. It's a winner takes all world. So it doesn't behoove a Republican or a Democrat to say, oh, well, I'm not worried about those 5,000 people or whatever that are going to vote for the Libertarian or vote for the Independent or vote for the Green Party. Who cares? I'm not worried about giving those people what they want. I'm going to win anyways. In this climate now, where these elections are being decided by hundreds of votes, they're not being there. When was the last time we saw a true landslide? They haven't happened. The amount of change that we, as third parties, can exact, the amount of influence that we can now have over these elections by just having a presence in them and existing as a threat to these establishment politicians, is immense. I can't say with great certainty that I had anything to do with them picking up land access as a campaign topic. I can't say with great certainty that I had anything to do with them making the decision to put those orange signs all over southern Burlington and Atlantic County. I can't say that. I'm obviously not part of their campaign, but I can say that none of that stuff existed prior to June. And within 24 hours of that challenge and me saying, you know what, okay, I recognize that I'm not going to be able to be on the ballot this year. And the Republican Party, absolutely mirrored even the kind of language. I think the one candidate, when he went on social media to announce that he was taking this seriously, I think he used the word liberty like 8 times in his social media post about it. And I think that's I can't prove it, but I think that I had a lot to do with it. So it was worth my time. It was worth my effort. And it was worth the little bit of money that I had to spend. You don't have to spend an absolute fortune. There's no reason to think that you can't influence things, that you're stuck. You're stuck in whatever lot that these people give you. Whatever they decide, these politicians decide, is what you're stuck with. You can absolutely, as an individual, step up and you can influence things. And that's exactly why the founders of this country gave us the right to be able to do exactly what we have done, exactly what Vic has done for the last 8 months or whatever, or Lana, Bruno, what we've done.
No, thank you for
awesome
that.
point there, Dawson. Yeah. If I may just make a point, they don't tell just us to drop and just leave. They did that in New York, right, for the New York City race, right? Sliwa. They told him, hey, drop because we want Cuomo to win. And he's like, well, he's a Democrat. I'm a Republican. I won my primary. He lost his. So why should I drop to help a Democrat when this is a Democrat problem created by the Democrats?
Exactly.
Right? So when was the last Republican mayor? Was that Giuliani, right?
Well, Bloomberg was elected as a Republican. Then, of course, he became an independent, and then, of course, he became a Democrat after he was no longer mayor. So,
yeah. So they don't do it just to us. They do it to anyone that they feel comfortable telling them to just drop off, right?
Yeah.
That most definitely costed Cuomo because apparently Mandani has won. CNN called it for him. So it's like it's interesting. You go to your opponents, you're like, oh, drop off. Like this is going to benefit us. Like, are you crazy? Right?
Yeah,
So
and Mikey Sherrill has won. So exactly as I predicted, I had no doubt that she would win. I was certain about it 100%. First of all, it was an open seat. Number one. Number two, Donald Trump was in the White House. This is pretty much exactly what happened in 2017 when Phil Murphy was elected. It was also by a very comfortable margin. This looks like a landslide for
Yep,
Mikey Sherrill.
57. Yeah.
The Quinnipiac poll that showed a 7-point gap in
Lead,
favor
yeah.
of Sherrill. That seems to have been paying off. That poll, they actually got the Quinnipiac poll was correct. All these other polls that have 1 point.
Yeah.
1 point. I'm like, come on. Like, I know they can't be
Well,
true.
Jack is actually doing worse this year than he did the last one.
Mhm.
So he's sitting at 42. She's at 57 so far.
This is.
Yeah.
It's a landslide for Micah Sherrill. I expected it to be so. I mentioned some of the things Trump did right before the election, which is like, if you're this crap doesn't. I'm sorry, this stuff doesn't work.
Not New Jersey.
All that immigrant stuff in a state that's 25% immigrant. Come on, like this is you can't pull this stuff off. And people see who's being targeted, right? People who are fully documented immigrants, people who are U.S. citizens, people who are born in the country. So this is not just because of the way because of the way they look, just based on their appearances. That's why people are being targeted. And if you're if you have any conscience with you, unless you're like a full-blown racist, there's no way you could possibly, if you have any conscience, you would support that. But that's exactly what Jack Ciattarelli was running on in New Jersey, that he would double down on these arrests, going after people based on their appearances because they look quote Latino. This is a suicide. This was a suicide mission for Jack Ciattarelli. That's why I had no doubt that he would lose this campaign, because he decided to park his fate with Donald Trump and the racist, bigoted campaign against the immigrants that was being run by the Trump administration.
Yeah, no, I mean, great. That's a great point.
I strongly believe that. I strongly believe that he could have, it's still early, so I'm not going to predict anything, but I agree. Accepting that endorsement from Trump injured him. I don't want to say it hurt his campaign; it injured it.
Kiss at that.
He could have run. He could have run as a Jersey Republican and walked into the governorship, because this guy Murphy was so bad. He was so bad that anyone could have defeated him if he was allowed to run a third term. And this is New Jersey. There's again plenty of conservatives, plenty of Republicans here, but you have to appeal to conservatives and Republicans in New Jersey. This is not Alabama. And like you said, any logical person, if they would have said, back in September of last year, and said, I think we do have an immigrant issue. We need to fix our immigration problem. They're letting too many people in, whatever. And then would vote for Donald Trump because he said he was going to fix this. And then see what Donald Trump, his actual moves have been to fix this, that they would see it as a problem. How any logical person could look at his solution and say, this is okay.
Yeah. Well, there is no solution. that's the problem. Their solution is, all right, you look like an immigrant, so we're gonna arrest you. We're gonna detain you, and then we're gonna send you whatever we want. Right? I mean, the fact that they're free to just send them to wherever is like, how is that not trafficking? You're not sending.
Yeah. How would any logical person? Person.
It's crazy, absolutely crazy, but yeah,
right. And most people are not like racist. I mean, in the state of New Jersey, they're expected to hate Latino people because they're first of all, that's like 20% of the population in the state of New Jersey. You're expected to hate Latino just for being and the thing is that this whole cover that they've been using, this is just about undocumented, they should come to this country legally. I'm like, what? I mean, had I tried coming to this country legally? Like, what? This is so. I mean, and I think people who understand the reality, they understand how things are. They know this. They just don't want. They just don't want more immigrants.
But the
period.
problem,
They
but
want to preserve the white race. You know, in the state of New Jersey and in the United States, they're so concerned that percentage-wise, there are fewer, white people, and that's what it's all about. This has nothing to do with immigration. This has everything to do with racism.
yeah, but notice how he started very differently. First is, well, MS-13 got to go. Everybody's like, okay, MS-13. Then he went, well, other gang members got to go because they're coming from Venezuela and they're bringing drugs. And then people are like, okay. Then he went, well, criminals, they broke the law. They shouldn't be here. And now he's like, oh, anyone who came illegally got to go. And he's like, how many times are you going to move the goalposts?
Yeah.
How many times are you going to set a parameter and they just completely ignore it? Right.
No, I agree, but I think there's more to that, because last year, if you recall, it was we're going to go at. Oh, first of all, he was saying all these people are violent criminals and they're murderers, but then also saying we got to get rid of all of them. Like everyone who's undocumented, we're going to get rid of all of them. So people who kind of I think what was happening last year, and not just with some people, they really wanted, they were hearing what they wanted to hear, and the things they didn't agree with, they were hoping that would not become a reality, right? So it's like, well, I hope he's not going to do these things, but I hope he's going to do those things. Well, you don't get to decide as a voter which things he is going to do and which things he's not going to do, because he's promising to do both things. And you can't pick and choose. You can't, Donald Trump or any presidential candidate is not some marionette, some puppet that you can just pull on the strings, and when that person is office, you're going to control every step of the way. That's not the reality. That's not how things work. And some voters, they get into their heads that somehow the person they're voting for is going to be some sort of a puppet, that they're going to be in charge and they're going to be controlling. But the reality, of course, it will never be people like them. It will be people who have the most money. They're the ones who will have the most influence, and it will never be people like you and me.
Yeah. Well, COVID was interesting because I was so shocked how quickly people just surrendered. And it's like, oh, there's this virus, and they were wrong about everything, but people were so comfortable with, their jobs being shutting down. You couldn't go anywhere. You have to mask. You have to mask in your car when you're by yourself in the highway, and it's like it's interesting now when the immigration comes in and we see everything that they're doing. It's like, well, yeah, people aren't willing to get up and stand up for themselves, And what another very interesting point, like France, I like bringing France up, because France is kind of like peak of anarchy whenever they want to. So they raised they wanted to raise the retirement age from 60 to 62, and they just burned the whole country down, you know. And you would think the United States, the country of liberty and freedom and guns, and it's like they shut us all down, destroyed businesses. I had many customers who lost everything, and I mean everything: the business, their retirements, their own personal stuff. And people like, okay, it's like, no, like, how you just like going with it. And immigration, we see the same thing, like I said, it started, we're going to go after MS-13, and now it's like ICE agents are at schools, dragging people out of their cars with their 9-year-olds there watching. It's like, where is humanity? So.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, Bruno. Yeah, I think that when it comes to immigration, so there, because this is Donald Trump we're talking about here, but he did say a number of things. Well, first of all, starting with 2015, he would say that that everyone who comes here who's undocumented is a murderer, is this, that. Yeah. And once he convinced millions of people that is the case, then well, of course. And this was during the campaign, he would say, well, we got to get rid of them. Of course, people were supporting because, well, aren't they all murderers and rapists? And, are they all like criminals? I mean, and then, of course, if you were to say that, well, no, not all of them. Well, like not every single person is just defined self-defense. That everyone is a murderer. Like, well, like we have literally 10 million murderers, and no, like that's crazy.
Yeah, what's interesting, that's the same rhetoric. That's the same rhetoric that was used against Sicilians. Like word by word, if you look at the old newspapers, They used to say the same thing. They're murderers. They're they're violent criminals. They rape. They steal. They pillage, and it's the same exact rhetoric 100 years ago. And as a country, we haven't moved from that yet. And it's amazing that now you have people that their grandparents or great grandparents were judged that way, now judging others that the same way. So it's just kind of like a full circle, and hopefully, New Jersey is speaking loudly today, and they're saying that they want none of that here. And I'm happy that that's the message going out. Like we don't talk that nonsense. So
yeah, I absolutely agree with you, Bruno, and I think this is a rejection of this bigotry and also see it and as well of the hatred that has been pushed by this White House and that people of New Jersey. I see this as a repudiation of that type of rhetoric. And I do understand that regardless who was going to win, either Mikey Sherrill or Jack Ciattarelli, and I strongly believe that Mikey Sherrill would win this election just because of the dynamics coming from the White House and just the unpopularity of Donald Trump in New Jersey, that you will have certainly the ICE agents moving in to cities in New Jersey. And I, who ran on a platform of non-cooperation and on a platform of stopping the ICE raids in New Jersey, this will be a real test for Governor-elect Sherrill in terms of how she would confront this, because I made it clear what I wanted to do. I wanted to basically stop ICE in its tracks and have arrests taking place. I made no bones about that. So this will be a real test for Mikey Sherrill in terms of what she would do as governor, because I made it clear what I would do, but I don't know if she has the guts to do what needs to be done. And of course, the Democrats, they do believe that the federal government has jurisdiction over immigration, which is totally false. Article 1, Section 8, as I said earlier, only mentions a naturalization, which is citizenship and not immigration. But I do wonder if I'm pretty sure that Governor-elect Mikey Sherrill will not try to stop the ICE raids, and even though I hope she would. I'm willing to give her a shot. I strongly doubt that because, like I said, Democrats don't certainly think that the federal government should have no jurisdiction over immigration, and I don't know if she has the
fortitude,
the will to confront other people were willing to do. I don't really see this from the Democratic Party. They really need to confront this issue. If they want to, I think what the hope is on the Democratic Party level, they really hope that this country, we already have 90% of the country that's they really want things. I mean, I think they're just waiting to things to get worse, and then they hope that the voters will just elect them just based on that. That is going to be just a vote against the Republicans and not vote for the Democrats. I think this is what they're hoping for. Instead of offering voters a real change, right? Alternative, they're just waiting for a thing. I just think they're waiting till things get worse, hoping that the voters will just elect them just because they're not Republicans.
Yeah, not great, but I mean, I keep imagining, cities like Newark. When my parents came and when I came, we went to Newark. The Italians were there first. The Italians built Newark, and then the Portuguese, and then now the Brazilians, the Ecuadorians, and those people being terrorized by this quasi-fascist organization, which is ICE, is like, where are we going? Think of Patterson also, where there's a lot of immigrants, a lot of Muslim immigrants there, right? And it's not right that ICE thinks they could act the way that they do and they're above the law, because I keep hearing from the law and order party that no one is above the law, but now you have a whole police force, federal police force, that is above the law. So it's interesting.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And Stephen Miller said that they have immunity. They have full immunity. No, they don't.
Yeah, they don't.
They don't have full immunity.
Whenever the lawsuits start coming out, they're going to find the hard way that they don't.
And so they think they can do whatever they want. I mean, I've seen that image I mean, it's crazy that the one of the ICE agents, the officer, I guess, he ran in, like piled into a car of a
Yep.
woman,
Yep,
and
then blamed her.
then arrested her.
Yeah.
Arrested her. Like that was the wait a minute, you just ran into a car and
Yeah.
what? I mean, and the thing is, these guys they carry like the science police like on
Mhm,
their
mhm.
quote unquote uniforms.
Yeah.
That's not police. I mean,
No.
can you imagine? Well, okay, if police acted this way, this would be like, come on.
Oh,
You're gonna
100%.
arrest.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen some, bad police officers, of course.
Yeah.
But these guys, because they're not police, they think they can get away with like everything and anything.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that's danger. At least with the police, there's okay. I mean, there's some accountability. Here, there's zero accountability. There's
Yeah.
absolutely
For
no
now.
accountability whatsoever. For now,
Yeah.
there's like no
For now.
accountability. I can literally do, and it's like they literally can do whatever they want. They think they can do whatever they want. And at least there's, with the police, there is some breaks, but like but like here, they're just no, like
Yeah.
they-
Yeah. Unfortunately, they have shot at people. A lot of U.S. citizens have gotten hurt physically. A lot of them have been personally attacked by ICE agents. A lot of them have been illegally detained. Fourth, Sixth Amendment violated over and over again. So, they will learn that, there are consequences for their actions. So,
yeah, I mean the one the U.S. citizen that was arrested twice in Alabama. I mean that's crazy.
yeah, right. Twice. You got to be lucky, huh?
Twice. I mean, it's like, come on. Like once, okay,
Mike-
like twice. And the sad part, of course, is the Supreme Court has given it the green light. Pretty
Yeah.
much, they said that you can arrest somebody who, based on his or her looks, the accent, or the appearance,
Yeah.
or the line of work. I
Yeah.
mean, and the language that they speak. I mean, that's crazy. That's why I
Yeah.
guess. I mean, they've essentially declared millions and millions of Latinos the enemy in this country, which is just. I mean, I don't even know how to,
Yeah.
where to.
Now, if we think about it far back enough, didn't we take a lot of territory that was Mexican originally? So technically,
that's
they're
true.
the original people here, right? We kind of pushed
Right,
them
no,
out.
that's true.
So
That's true. And
we're the invaders there.
My fear now is with these, the way that they're acting, the Democrats, they whether you want to say they don't have any power and they're not able to do anything, or if they're just kind of sitting back and following the rule that never get in the way of an idiot.
Yep.
And
I think is that.
I think you're right that they're looking at this and going, well, we're just going to let it get so bad that we walk into a great blue wave in 2 years or 4 years or whatever. And, they're looking at all of this abuse of power now, and they're looking forward to being able to abuse it themselves. This is something that's going to happen, that we have to be vigilant, because if it's allowed to go on now, we know they're all authoritarians, every single one of them. Both major parties, they have no interest in advancing liberty, because you advance liberty, you give up power. And I mean, without, you kind of have to have power to maintain your corruption, and you have to maintain your corruption to keep your power. So they're gonna let this go on, and assume that they're just gonna walk in 4 years, and they're gonna be able to do whatever they want. And it concerns me. It concerns me a lot that we would think that, hey, it'll get better. They're going to come around. They're going to knock all these guys out. Maybe even lock a few of them up. But they're not going to say, hey, look, not only were all these guys bad, but so were all the actions and these laws that they abused and interpreted however they wanted to be able to justify their authoritarian actions. They're not going to get rid of these things. They're going to utilize them. And that's my fear, because to me, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if there's a Republican or a Democrat in charge. They're both abusive. They're both authoritarian. They're both going to, take away my rights and liberties. They, it just decide which ones are they going to take. I can look at a Democrat and give a pretty good idea of what sort of liberties I'm going to be losing today. And I can look at a Republican and I know exactly what, liberties I'm going to be losing today. And that's what's going to happen. It's not going to be suddenly, they come through, there's a blue wave and we push all of a sudden the fascism is gone. And it's this, we're back to being happy and we're back to being free again. It's like, no, it's going to be the more of the same with a different color.
Great point. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, 100%. And as history shows, that's always been the case. The Patriot Act is still there. 24 years later, the Patriot Act is still with us today. Regardless what party's in the White House, nothing changes. Absolutely nothing. People that vote Republican and Democrat and hope they can change, they see that nothing changes, and those people vote Republican, Democrat. Like, what's the point? They talk about people voting Libertarian, that's wasting your vote. How about voting Republican and Democrat? That's the biggest waste of vote one can imagine, because you're voting to keep things the same. And if you don't like the way things are, you're voting for things to get worse. That's exactly what you're doing. When you vote Republican or Democrat, you're voting to make your life worse. That's exactly what you're doing. And voting Libertarian, all right, or voting for any other alternative, okay, that's hope. But voting Republican and Democrat, right? If you keep doing what you're doing, you will always get what you've been getting. And that's exactly what's happening. Lives of people get worse, but it's like you have certain people, they think that, well, maybe if I vote again, 20, 30, 40 years, right? I've been doing the same thing over and over again. Maybe next time is going to be different, right? Maybe next time is going to be different, but it's not getting different. People have died, they have waited. They waited for things to get different. They don't. They waited for things to change. They're dead now. They waited their entire lives, okay? The smart thing is to start voting different, okay? Definitely voting the same has not worked because things have gotten worse, okay? And more and more people, okay, I think are getting that message. They're understanding that by voting Republican and Democrat, you're not making things better.
Yeah, but Vic, how else would Argentina get $40 billion? Right? I mean, we need to think of Argentina. Like, come on, like something got to be done there. So,
if anything, Argentina should have been the last. As far as I'm concerned, right now, you've got Argentina actually has a libertarian government in place. They should have been the first ones told to, I don't know, go sell something. As far as I'm concerned, 40 billion or whatever. I don't know. What are the Falkland Islands worth? If he's
probably 40 billion.
It's going to be, if it's that libertarian and they need that money that bad, well, then be libertarian. And like I said, how much are those Falkland Islands worth? Turn those over. Give us something for it. That would have been that would have been the actual thing that should have been done. But instead, we've given them money. It's like a loan. But okay, we'll see if
it was a bribe. I mean, that was a bribe before the election. I mean, I think that's exactly what it was, because Javier Milei wanted that money, so he would, it was literally a way to bribe his party before the election, and the Trump administration should not have done that. That was just a bribe, and the voters were like, it was a way to bribe, to bribe the voters, to buy the voters of Argentina. And
the question is, what is on the other side of that agreement? Right? I do this for you, but what are they going to do for us?
Falkland Islands.
We're not getting anything out of it. They're just taking our money.
I mean, are we that generous?
So much for America first, right?
Yeah, but
remember
we that generous?
We're not going to be taking care of other governments. Yeah, right.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's a long play into Venezuela. Hey, listen, we'll get you elected. We'll give you the money, and you're going to support us. We're going to bring our ships to Argentina. We're going to use it as a launch pad, right? We don't know what's on the other side.
Do we
Well,
have? Do we have
I
any
think
bases in
Rubio is
Argentina?
obsessed with. I'm sorry. I think Rubio is
do we have
obsessed with
bases?
regime change in Venezuela. I think that's what it's all about. It's got nothing to do. I don't care how much money they offer them. It's just not going to work. They just want regime change. Rubio just what that was his lifelong dream. I mean, years ago during the first Trump administration, he wanted a regime change in Venezuela, and he will not stop until he gets regime change in Venezuela. It's that simple.
Yeah, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. I mean, I had family in Venezuela who had to escape the country and all that. I mean, obviously, people suffered and still suffering there, but there's no country that we went to that we made anything better. If anything, we only made it worse. So, um, you know, something that us, the American citizen, needs to kind of come to terms with, right? We kind of fuck up where we go. We don't make it better for anyone, and on top of it, we're putting American lives at risk.
No.
Right? We also gonna, if we invade Venezuela, how much is that gonna cost us? Another 10-20 trillion dollars, right?
Yep.
So not only are we making things worse for them, we're spending a lot of money that we don't have, and we're gonna put American lives at risk. So, and the question becomes, for what? Right?
Yeah, I mean, and I think that there's as time is going to go on, continue. I think within the MAGA movement, I think there's going to be more schism taking place. It's already happening. I think there's people within the movement that are just not happy about obviously that $40 billion move, and because it's almost feels like with the Trump supporters, how much. I mean, most of them are like taking it in, like it doesn't matter what he does as president. They don't really, don't really care. But I think some of them are kind of like, well, thinking, well, wait a minute, that's what about America first, right? What about making America great? And that's just not doing it. The tariffs are not obviously making America great. Pretending that the prices are falling down and we're not in the recession, like that's I don't know for some people for how long that's going to continue. I mean, at some point they're just going to like, wait a minute, like we're not living. This is not a golden age, like right now of President Trump. So, but I really see this this day as a repudiation of Trump's policies. A triple loss in New York City. He did endorse Cuomo. Cuomo lost. A loss in Virginia and a loss in New Jersey. I think this is going to be sending a message to the Republicans for next year. I mean, unless I think some of them probably are going to start kind of moving away from Trump. Not a whole lot, because I think they're also going to be afraid of their own voters, of the Republican voters, who they will be afraid will punish them in the primaries, right? So like if you disagree with Trump on anything, right, you're the most horrible, terrible person on the planet. You're a traitor. You're like you might you're worse than Democrat or as bad as a Democrat, right? So this is how Republican people have been Republican support have been trained to think. And so, but I think what's going to happen is that after these results, I think it's entirely possible that. And you already see that there's such a tiny number. I mean, it's like the usual suspects, Rand Paul, right, in the Senate when it comes to tariffs. But I think that as we move closer next year to the midterm elections, I think there probably would be fewer Republicans. I don't think there's going to be a lot who would want to campaign with Trump, especially if his support will fall below 37%. I can't imagine, let's say it's like 35%. There's only so much it will fall, because I think he will retain the bulk of Republicans' support. But if his support starts falling like at 34-33%, I mean, I can't imagine too many Republicans wanting to campaign with him.
Yeah, great point. I mean, there's a lot of talks too of the third term, and you kind of see like Steve Bannon out there, and there's a way we could do it. It's like if they start pushing for that, then they really think we're a banana republic, which is crazy. But yeah, I mean, I personally think that Trump's going to be so bad for the economy in this coming years that he's going to kill 2028, and possibly even beyond that. I mean, we're now lowering rates, which is not a good thing. So mortgage rates went up as the other rates went down. So that's a really bad sign because it means that people aren't sure of the economy. So we see all of these market conditions and all of these signals saying, hey, we're not in a good place. And then another point is that we just hit over 38 trillion. So our debt is going to be worth less and less pretty soon, which then is going to impact us financially in a very big way. So something to consider going forward, but hopefully I'm wrong and the economy is not going to be completely destroyed. But if he does destroy the economy, I think 2026, 2028, 2030 is going to be blue all the way.
Yeah, it's going to be blue. I totally agree with you. And as you know, Dustin, you pointed out earlier, and I often mention the people that like I say, people vote Democrat, people vote Republican, but the question is because the reality is, of course, as I mentioned earlier, Patriot Act has not gotten away, and of course, the when the Democrats will, if the Democrats will come to power, control the White House. By that point, I think the state apparatus would have been built around surveillance, around certainly the some of the system that ICE is currently building, and I don't I don't expect Palantir to go away. So so what Palantir is doing right now, I mean, that can easily be used by the by the next party in town, right? Next year,
100%, yeah,
100%. And so now the people that are like, well, let's vote for this party. Like, be careful what you wish for, because now the new party will be using the same instruments that the current party is using. I mean, the next one, right? They'll be using to beat up on the people they disagree with, which is exactly what you've had. Of course, with the Biden administration and the next oncoming Trump administration. So this is exactly the same repetition. We've seen this, play being sort of this record being played over and over and over again. We've seen it after so many years, and I think that we, as we certainly have an understanding of this, not so old ancient history. We understand how probably will likely play out. Why do you think Senator Slotkin from Michigan is the only one who's talking about the demilitarization of our streets, and she's she's very vocal, but notice she's like really one of the few ones who's speaking out. Why don't you see more Democrats speaking out? And I think it's because they're all expected to use the same tools that are being right now used by the Trump administration to be used in the next administration. And they're going to be using those tools against the people that they're disagree with and they're opposed to. And I fully expect that to happen. It's not like either party has a record of being like anti-censorship, regardless of what they're saying. I mean, even as Trump was running for his for election last year, he was saying he was against censorship, but at the same time they were saying, oh yeah, we do support censorship when people do these different things, and I have opinions. And so when people act shocked like this year, it's like, oh my God, I didn't expect this to happen.
Well, Charlie Kirk, I mean, God forbid he said something about Charlie Kirk.
No.
Right?
Well, I didn't
the band,
Yeah, well, I didn't expect these students coming from other countries that get arrested. Trump ran on this. What are you talking about? And other things. This was all part of the Project 2025. Palantir. Like, none of this is surprising. We're talking about this is what would happen when Trump would become president. Like, none of this is shocking. None of this is surprising. A lot of people acting like this is tariffs he promised on. He ran. And if some people weren't paying attention, that's certainly not Donald Trump's fault. I mean, this is what people like. The Joe Rogan are trying to do. They voted for Trump, and they try to encourage other people to vote for Trump. And now he's saying that Trump was lying. Trump
no, he was very honest.
He was honest, and either you just like wanted to believe he wouldn't keep his promises, or you were just doing it for ratings. But the idea that all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, I didn't expect things to go down that way. Well, how did you expect things to go that way? You don't remember Trump saying that he was going to deport all people who are undocumented? Like, you don't remember him saying that? Come on, he did say that. And I think this is what but I honestly think there were some voters, and there was one voter I remember after he voted for Trump. He's like, and he actually understood. He said, yes, higher tariffs, this will hurt the economy. Like, he actually understood that. And he's like, but you know what? But my hope is that some point, but down the line, things will get better. So
Yeah,
there were
they
actually
will.
voters. There were voters who had no idea what they were voted for. Have had no idea how tariffs work. Have absolutely no clue whatsoever. And this is when they're being asked, they just were saying, well, tariffs. Of course, American people will never pay the tariffs. No understanding what they were voting for. But there were actually people who did, and they were like, still like, well, you know, it can't get that bad, right? They were having this.
Yeah.
this yeah. So.
Yeah. One interesting point was that the FISA warrants were, I think it was 2 years ago, they were voting if they're going to end the FISA warrants, right?
Right.
And you know, they're still around. So all of the bad provisions are still around. And they use the FISA warrants to spy on Trump.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
And they, if I'm not mistaken on the timeline, they lied on the FISA warrants when Trump was president of the office. So they illegally spied on the president of the United States, and Congress couldn't end something that was abused. So, yeah, both sides are the same. They want controllers. They want to spy on us. They want surveillance. Dustin was talking about cameras, right? Dover, apparently in New Jersey, has AI facial recognition, right? Violating our rights all the time. I don't give permission for you to you know, monitor me, my picture, and run it, and all this other stuff. Like, so, you know, more and more liberties are taken away, and it's amazing, like I said, that people are just going along with it. You know, I would find Republicans to at least be angry at the FISA renewal. Like, why weren't they angry? They spied on Trump, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's okay. We're gonna reward them. We're gonna reelect them all again." It's like, no. There's one thing: you cannot have a loyalty to a party and a loyalty to the country, because the party is against the country. Because the only purpose of the party is to elect people. Doesn't matter how or why or what your covenant is. So, I mean, even the DNC, that I think should be completely abolished, how they kicked Bernie Sanders twice now, completely annihilated him, even though he was going to go and win. So you can even call yourself the Democratic Party, because there's nothing democratic about it. So once again, it's interesting that people will sell their values, and they will have this rage over things, and then still keep voting the same way for the same people. You know, Trump is trying to push Massey out, right? Because, you know, Massey's bad, but then he's supporting Lindsey Graham, that is a war hawk that wants to invade every other country every other day. And it's like, isn't he the no war president, right? Like, no new wars and all this, but now he's against Massey and in favor of Graham. So it's very interesting. Politics in this country is very interesting.
Yeah,
even internally in our own party, there was a lot of in the last election. It's a, you know, I won't say which one, but there was a we'll call it a libertarian mouthpiece, I guess is the best way to describe him, an influencer. And I remember him saying, you know, libertarians, it's time to come home. You know, it's time to come home, get behind Donald Trump. He's gonna be the libertarian president. And I mean, we had those. There was definitely some big talk, and there was definitely some, if you believed it, there was definitely some good reason. And, you know, I looked at it at the time, and I'm going like, this is not the first time that I've heard this. You know, did suddenly overnight did politics become clean? Did suddenly they stop lying and, you know, actually promoting liberty? And the answer was no. And I knew that to be no. And that's why I kept with my principles. And we, as libertarians, we are principled. That's what sets us apart from the major parties that will just change their platform with every single election. You know, whatever will sell, that's what they make their platform. Ours doesn't really change. It stays the same. And I, you know, looking at him going, you know, I can't support this guy. I can't do it. I'm a libertarian, and I know that no matter what they're going to say on this campaign trail, that's not what's going to happen. And even if, to say, well, we got a couple of wins, a few, we moved it a little bit, it doesn't change the fact that it's still the same steaming pile. And
Yeah.
I couldn't do it then. I still won't do it now. I don't care who comes and says, you know what, now it's time. We finally got a good one. We finally got a good Republican or a good Democrat. And there's no reason to continue this protest vote. And this isn't a protest vote. This is my vote. This is this is how I think the world should be. And as long as, we can have somebody like Vic run, and I can actually vote for him in confidence, because I know that even if I don't agree with all of it, the vast majority of what he would intend to do is going to make me more free.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't look at a candidate from a major party and say, you know what, this one's the one. Like, no, that's not the case, because I know that there's far more influence outside. There's far more influence upon those parties and what makes them do what they do. Bruno, like you pointed out, all these races where they don't have candidates. They either there's no challengers or nobody has actually gone into the race. Now you looked at all this data. How many of them were things like school boards?
School boards would probably say 80% of them that
80%.
that were uncontested. Yeah.
So this is a school board. As an example, a school board is a nonpartisan race, right? In most cases, I think is it by law in New Jersey that they're nonpartisan.
Yeah.
So I know that's in most places it's that way. Where I'm from in Florida, they're nonpartisan. They were trying to change that, but they're nonpartisan. But think how easy would it be for any candidate, Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Independent, whatever, to run for school board, especially being nonpartisan? It's not all that hard. There's a reason that those seats sit unfilled or they sit uncontested. And that's because there's no money in it. They can only influence. There's only so much influence that can be had because they can't put a Republican or a Democrat name on it. And there's only so much influence that can be had in that school board seat. So they don't care. It has nothing to do about promoting a Democrat or a Republican platform. It has to do whether or not they can get money. And since it's not there, because it's a nonpartisan race, they just don't run anyone.
They don't care. Yeah.
And looking and saying, Donald Trump could say all these wonderful things, these super libertarian things a year ago. We're bringing Doge and it's going to stick, and we're going to make these huge cuts, And I'm looking at it going, no, you're not. No, you are not. You are absolutely not going to do this. I know you're not going to do this. I mean, you guys, you've been voting longer than I have. I've been voting now. Let's see, it's 2025. So you call it 20 years, 25 years, something like that. They don't change. This is exactly the same thing they do every single time. No matter what they say, they're not going to do it. I have yet in my career as an adult, as a voting adult, really seen any politician that I've lived under advance liberty.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
And if they have, it was some nearly meaningless, move. And it's like, that's why it's, I can't, I can't do it. I'm not going to abandon my principles. I'm not. It's not worth it. I don't care if I'm the last. I'm the only one who cast that ballot. It's like I know better. It's like I don't know how anyone could be fooled by this. I don't know anyone could be fooled.
Yeah. Well, with that said, thank you so much. I'm actually stepping away. You guys continue this amazing conversation. Vic, once again, thank you so much
Thank you,
for
Bruno.
all
Thank
your
you.
hard work.
Thank
I
you.
think we're right now at 9,400 votes, so I think that we might break a record for the Libertarian Party. Yeah,
Well,
9418. Yeah.
it-
So thank you so much,
thank
and
you.
I'll talk to you guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you
Thanks,
for
Bruno.
my running mate. Thank you.
Thank you.
What is the what number are we looking to beat?
Well, I don't know about beating any number, but yeah, look, supposed to be 9,500 votes is what we're looking at. I mean, the total number. But I just want to say that I mean everything would totally agree with Bruno, and I just wanted to say that it's interesting when it comes to dropping out that you don't you have Republicans running in Democratic areas and Democrats running in Republican areas. You don't have people saying like, why don't you just drop out?
Right.
Like somehow only like we are being people who are like libertarians, Greens, right? All of a sudden it's like so there's this double standard going on, right, against libertarians, Greens, and others, where we're being asked to drop out, but Republicans and Democrats are not, even though I'm sure that some of those people will think that, well, they're not going to win. A Democrat running in Cape May County for a county commissioner isn't likely to win, right? But somehow there's a different standard is being applied to the people not Republicans and Democrats, obviously. So
Right.
Yeah, well, they
And,
go
and it's always the third party that has to drop out, particularly libertarians. Like and it's always like, we can't have the socialists win. We can't have the communist. They'll put these labels on Democrats as socialists or whatever, and they'll say we can't let them win, so you drop out. And I'm just like, you drop out. Like, why is it always us that has to drop out?
why do we have to
Yeah,
drop out?
they haven't realized that we think all of them are communists.
Yeah.
They're-
Well, yeah, I mean, first of all, as when Donald Trump endorses Andrew Cuomo, I mean, are you kidding me? I remember when the Republicans were like, well, he sent all those people to death, the grandmothers, and all those in senior homes, you send them to death, and this is the guy you're supporting. I keep hearing like radio shows. I mean, all these Republicans, they're radio show after radio show, like the biggest radio show. They're like, Republicans, we love Andrew Cuomo. Like, we want him to win. You guys have, I mean, stop telling me about how terrible Democrats are. Stop. I don't want to hear any of this, okay? Because if you're willing to support Andrew Cuomo, if you're willing to support Mayor Adams of New York City, if you're willing to support people like Fetterman, are you kidding me? Then don't tell me how Democrats are bad. You have no credibility in you at all, zero, okay? And no one in the right mind should believe you and trust you because what you're saying, because you're being a complete liar. I mean, this is, come on, you hate Democrats at the same time that you're asking people to support them. Are you freaking kidding me? And you're saying how wonderful these Democrats are? Well, why don't you just join with the Democrats and become one party and stop trying to hoodwink the American people, trying to claim that you're a different party. Come on.
no principles. It's like I said, none. They're so, it's so important to them that they win that they will abandon principles and morals and anything that they have to in order to guarantee that win.
Yep.
I said it earlier tonight. Sometimes it's not always about winning.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's about making that statement and giving people that choice. And when they know that when we appear, a libertarian appears on the ballot, that you have a certain expectation that I can, and I did this for a huge part of my I guess career, for lack of a better way to put it, as a libertarian. I didn't follow what the party was doing. I would go and find out who it was that I was going to vote for because I knew the platform. I knew what libertarians stand for. And I knew that I could go into that voting booth and I could vote with confidence. I didn't even have to really check and see whether this candidate was any good. And that's the way I did this for over a decade. You know, yeah, exactly.
Yep.
You know, if you never had them in the first place.
Yep.
Well, that's it. They don't have any principles.
Yeah.
What do you stand on?
Yep.
You know, what do they stand on? Is the Second Amendment? Well, they've thrown that under the bus so many times, it's not even funny. We know that Republicans are notorious for passing gun control laws. You know, so where do they stand on that? Is it okay? Is it a topic like abortion? Well, we know that Trump rolled over on that. So,
I mean, yeah, and Trump promised to take away guns from the people in Chicago last year when he was running for president.
Yeah.
Oh, now people are surprised. They're like, oh, wait a minute. Washington, D.C., they're taking away guns from people on the streets. ICE is doing, like, really? Like, you guys never expected that? That's what he was running on. Come on. Like, give me a break. This is such a joke. I mean, you can't, that's the thing, right? Donald Trump had no legs to stand on when he was criticizing Mamdani. Oh, he's a socialist. This is coming from a person who believes and who acted on it for the federal government to own stocks in corporations, buying corporations, having control, the government having control over companies. And he's calling Mamdani a socialist, and people should not be electing Mamdani. Are you freaking kidding me? I mean, these guys have absolutely no legs to stand on. These Republicans, people like Trump, you got to be kidding me. I mean, you would imagine, you would think that New York City was some kind of a free market, you know, some kind of like, you know, had a capitalist, you know, free market, no like rent control economy. Are you kidding me? Like, this is like, it's pathetic, right? Coming from all these people. I mean, I really, you know, they're the last people that should be criticizing Mamdani.
Democrats. They're now they bill themselves as the voice of the little person. You know, they're the voice of the minority and whatever. And we can look at them, and they have not run a legitimate primary since like 2008. You know, they have not run a legitimate primary since 2008. They have anointed their candidates for president, and they have anointed their candidates for all the offices on the national level. Like, we could watch that. We saw that here in Jersey with Andy Kim and I can't think of his name right now, Conaway, whatever. They install them. Here they install them at the state level. They install them in the assembly, and then it comes time around to go ahead and promote them up to the Senate, and then they'll stay there for a while, and then they decide if they want to move them on to Washington, D.C. or not, or if they think they're going to keep them on a state level. And it all boils down to how loyal they are to the party and their donors. And this is how they do it. It's like, you know, if you're a Democrat and you think that, you know, you're voting Democrat because you're giving a voice to the little man, you're giving a voice to the minority and a voice to the oppressed, like you're not even giving a voice to the average person, to the average Democrat. You know, you're not even giving a voice to John Q. Democrat. You're just voting to install these people. That's how they do it. And this is the direction that the GOP is going now too. I think they realized that they missed the boat, like all these years that they were actually trying to appeal to people. You know, why bother anymore when you can just install people? You spend enough money and you install them, and then, you know, you just do the bidding of these mega donors instead of trying to actually win an election, win a primary, put people up for election that, you know, those of us out here on the streets want to have rule over us. You know, why bother? You can just install. And that's the direction I see the GOP going. I think they're a little bit behind. They weren't quite as bad, but they are now officially on the same level with me. So, you know, this is where it's at, and it's both. It is both of them now. It is both. You can't say, well, you know, these Democrats, they were absolutely awful. We got to get them out of here. Let's put Republicans in. They'll at least set things straight. Now, as we have seen with Trump, You know, that's not the case either. That's not the case either. Now they're going to install people.
Yep. Sorry.
All right, so
Sorry
I'm
about
going to
that.
give an update on the district race, which I looked up District 8, Justin. They don't have, I guess they're only showing results for people who are on the ballot, but after the election, there will be a place for it. We'll see how many people voted for you as a write-in candidate. But let
I
me
am
find
curious.
Yeah. So
I want
District
to know who
20,
my voter is.
District 24, 82% of the votes are counted. It just updated. So I got so far I have 2,042 votes, which is 1.2%.
Nice.
So that's where we're at right now.
How did you do in the
really-
last race?
I actually don't remember. I have to look this up.
You actually did better in this race than the last race. I mean, it's also lower level, so that's
I did get a lower percentage, but as far as votes, I'm not sure what the exact number was.
percentage wise. You got higher this election. It's also a lower level race, so that might be the reason. So, that's very nice.
But it is getting late, and most of the votes have come in. So I think we know who won, which is obviously the two Republicans in my district and Micah Sherrill, which we all predicted she would win. I honestly don't know why the Republicans thought that Jack would win, but whatever. We pretty much know who won. And it is getting late, and we lost. Go ahead.
If I could make one comment, and thank you, Jackson, for supporting me and getting two of your friends to vote for me as well. I just want to say that about winning, right? People talk about winning, right? It's like, oh, you lost, whatever. You lost, but I mean, what does winning give you? If winning makes making the life of people worse and hurting the people who are voting for those candidates, right? Making their life worse, making their life more miserable, then why is winning so great? I mean, what's so great about winning? What is winning great because the lives of the people would get worse? I really don't understand that. That doesn't make any sense. I think there's some voters who are treating this as some kind of like a football game. Like my team wins, I'm so happy. But like nothing else matters. Like okay, my life is going to be worse, but it doesn't matter, right? Some people think that way because my party controls the governorship or my party's in the White House, and I don't care about anything else. If we're in a freaking recession, depression, doesn't matter, right? I'm still going to vote for my party. I don't care if I'm going to literally everything else crumbles around me. I'm still going to be supporting. And I know there are voters like that, right? And there are voters who see that and they're going to switch, or they're going to vote Republican, going to vote Democrat. Things still don't get any better. Things get worse, right? I mean, and you can see that on a national level, things are getting worse. Life is becoming less affordable on a national level. The money that you save isn't worth the things you can buy with them, right? Your money is worth less. You can buy fewer things with them. You can see that on a state level when it comes to the state of New Jersey. The cost of living is getting higher and higher and higher. Property taxes are, still the highest in the country. We're still one of the least business-friendly states in the country, regardless whether the Republicans sitting in the governor's office or the Democrats. So if things are getting worse, why do people? My question is, just stop voting for Republicans and Democrats, because you're going to continue getting what you've been getting all these years. So that's just the comment that I wanted to make.
Yeah, my final statement is that I'm happy with how this race for all the candidates. There, of course, have been disappointments. I know Dustin must have been disappointed getting off the ballot, but you still influenced, and that's the goal: is influence and education and challenging these candidates to actually help, right, make things better. Because Vic, you're absolutely correct. It doesn't matter who wins. Our lives are just going to continue to either stay the same or get worse. I couldn't care less who won the governor, unless it was you. I wanted you to win, obviously, Vic. But whether Jack won or whether Mikey won, New Jersey's not going to get any better. People are still going to be leaving the state. Taxes are still going to go up. Housing prices are still going to go up. everything is still going to be too expensive. People are going to become homeless. And now, of course, with the food stamps on a federal level, people are going to start getting hungry. And the future is pretty bleak. But here's what I actually wanted to say is that I don't plan on giving up. Even if I don't run again, which if I run again, a party member would have to nominate me. I'm not going to put myself forward, but I'm not going to give up trying to repeal some of these things, local ordinances, or writing bills, especially as director of political affairs. I'm still going to push to find candidates to challenge these people, especially in some of these races that are totally uncontested. There are a couple of districts that were uncontested, like for state assembly. That to me is insane. There shouldn't be uncontested races, and this idea that New Jersey has too many candidates on their ballots is just not factually accurate, first of all, but I don't think there's such thing as too many candidates.
Yeah.
I think having more choices and more options is always a good thing, and I was able to be an option for somebody in District 24. So I'm not going to give up. And, you know, it's always like we were talking before about these double standards for libertarians. There are several candidates, including Jack, who have run 2, 3, 4, 5 times sometimes, right? And they're running in districts that their party never wins. You know, Republicans who run in Democrat majority districts and vice versa. And they don't give up. They just keep trying, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know why libertarians are supposed to be like, oh, you only get 1% and give up. No, you don't give up. Why should I give up? And I don't think anyone in this live stream or any of our candidates that I've run in the past should give up, and they should run again. Especially because, like I mentioned, we don't have $1 million budgets as a party, as individuals. So it's already a lot of barriers in an uphill battle, and it takes time. It takes running a couple of times to get that momentum. So, Vic, you had your say. Dustin. Yep.
Oh.
Looks like Jackson, maybe one more question for Vic.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sure. What are your plans going forward, Vic?
Well, I haven't decided yet, but I mean, this is so soon. This is the election day, but yeah.
You must decide right this second.
Yeah, 26. Let me just come back from the election. I did visit all 21 counties, so let me just sorry. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's gonna come back. Yeah, so let me just think it over. This is so soon. So
we got to take a break. You got to have a week and you just sleep and not think about politics for a little bit.
Oh gosh. So I'll definitely. I mean, I may run for something. It's so soon after the election. So, but yeah, I'll definitely think it over.
This is actually a good question for all three of us to answer at some point, or not at some point, if we can. If you could change anything about how you conducted your campaign, what would it be, Vic, since you're at the top there, if you want to start?
Well, I think that, I would definitely try to, and this is a question that, I think it is definitely important. I mean, I'll definitely try to get more, certainly, obviously looking at my totals. I think that, not having, I have run before, of course, but, having definitely more supporters, more volunteers, that meaning any campaign, of course, is something that I would have, probably focused more. I mean, we've had volunteers, of course, but I think that's like with any election, right? You need more, the more supporters you have, the more volunteers you have, the more supporters you'll have. So I think that's something that, I probably would have focused more if I had to do it over again.
Okay, I guess I'll go. So every time I run, I learn, where my mistakes were, where we shouldn't have spent money, especially since Vic, I helped you, I managed your campaign. I definitely learned a lot about statewide campaigns, especially running on basically shoestring budgets. Maybe not so much for you, Vic. Your budget was a bit bigger than the state assembly candidates, but when you have basically no money to put in things, you really learn what is effective and what isn't. But one big thing that I want all of the candidates to do, including myself, is we have to start campaigning and genuinely campaigning, talking to voters, tabling events, door knocking, all these things that are legitimate campaigning tasks much earlier, much earlier. Like right now, I know it's right after the election. Everyone take a break and don't talk about politics for a while. But right now should be when our candidates are campaigning for state assembly in 2027. Yes, 2027. Unfortunately, because third parties don't have a lot of volunteers, don't have a lot of candidates, don't have a lot of money, we think about our candidates or who's going to run for office basically now for next year, and that's just not enough time to build momentum or to start actually getting your name out there. And so that's what I would do, as much as humanly possible, is starting early, like now, tomorrow. I would like to sleep though, but yeah, we need to start campaigning much earlier.
And myself, being this was my first campaign, excuse me, very blatantly and very straightforward, I will say that I will trust no one.
Yes, be careful with who's collecting your signatures, Dustin.
I will trust no one. And I think that I may see a little bit more success next time. So we'll start there because it's my first campaign. I can't really nitpick a whole lot, and it was cut short. But to look at everything that went on, I will trust no one. And I am going to be a little bit more outgoing towards certain. There was groups that I actually did neglect that would have been a lot of help very early on, and it was almost like I was saving them for later. And Lana has accused me of this, and she's right. So I am definitely, when I run again, I'm going to, instead of trying to plan ahead about certain things, I am going to put those things into motion immediately. And so those are the two things that I'm going to do differently.
So we do have more questions that I want to answer because they're very thought provoking. But another thing is, and this is more like internally, I guess. Well, let's answer this question. What political concepts should teenagers or young adults be aware of so that they have a full grasp of the political environment to enable them to make an educated decision that matches their beliefs instead of being biased by herd mentality? Well, not getting your political opinions from the media is one thing, but and I've actually told people to do this: make a list of the things that are most important to you, whatever that is. Social issues, if it's a federal race, maybe war, whatever your top issues, state surveillance, and then actually research your candidates and political parties. With political parties specifically, so many people, including libertarians, or people who claim to be libertarians, don't actually read party platforms. I bet there's a lot of libertarians that have never read our platform before, whether in the New Jersey platform or the national platform. And so, do you actually even agree with the party that you vote for? And that's something that I don't think a lot of people can answer. So read the party, all the party platforms, Green, Libertarian, whatever, Republican. Don't actually read their platforms. And also maybe look into the philosophical origins of these platforms, and then start making your decisions instead of basically relying on TikTok and news media to make your decisions. I think we lost Vic, but Dustin, if you have anything to add to that question.
I have one thing to add, and I think that this is incredibly important. This does pertain to politics, because when you elect people, unless it's for dog catcher, this is going to be something that elected official is going to impact, and that is economics. Understand economics and what it is that you feel. I won't. Our the libertarian economics, Austrian economics are the absolute best. But you should understand economics and how you feel about it and how you think that things should be run economically from that standpoint. And if you understand that, and you can look at your candidates and you can find the one that's going to fit you best. Because it may feel great, to vote for somebody who's like, you absolutely oppose ICE and you feel that we should have open borders or something like that. But then you find out that, that candidate or that party might be economically very malaligned with you. So those economic things and those economic impacts that candidates and elected officials are going to have on you are going to impact your life significantly more than just about anything else, because it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter your age, your sex, your gender, orientation, any of those things. If you are completely broke, because being broke is something that affects everyone. So economics, absolutely understand where you feel in economics and choose based on who you think has the best. Make that as a very important thing to pay attention to. That's the concept of the number one thing.
Yeah, it was a good point. Economic freedom affects everyone equally. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
It does not discriminate. And the last question here from LeBron, who is one of Vic's volunteers. I don't know if it might be too long to put up here, but I'm going to try. Thinking about it now, in my opinion, you should probably have broadened your reach on social media, perhaps Blue Sky or Twitch, etc. Additionally, you all deserve a break, but consider running ASAP, perhaps the turn of the new year, early February. So I completely agree with you with social media. Like I have, it's really, the algorithms are tricky. And like on TikTok, I have almost 40,000 followers, but my videos average very low unless I get one that just goes viral, and then that's how I get all my followers. But unfortunately, how people mostly get their followers, unless they have truly just a unique organic growth, is they do ads. A lot of the political campaigns that have followers, unless they've already been in a seat in office, which they get followers from that, they get followers from ads, which cost money. Not a lot. I will say, as far as running for office, social media ads are probably where most of your money should go, because they're cheap and what you get back is high value. But social media is, I think, where the future is going with winning campaigns in general. As far as running ASAP, I agree with you. Unfortunately, the way the Libertarian Party has to nominate candidates, because New Jersey doesn't see us as an actual political party, so we don't have official primaries or anything like that. Candidates can't officially run under the Libertarian banner unless they've been officially nominated at the annual convention. And our convention, luckily, we changed some bylaws, and our convention is earlier now. It's going to be in February. There's really not too much you can do as a candidate between now and February until you get nominated. You could get a social media following. You could say, I'm running for blah, 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 and I'm seeking the Libertarian nomination. All these things you could do. But as far as really, really campaigning hard without having that official Libertarian nomination can be difficult. Question, what are your opinions on AIPAC or elected officials taking funding from foreign entities?
They can go.
Yeah. I don't think none of us actually support AIPAC in general, but also just there's definitely a conflict of interest there that should be I don't want to use the word regulated, because libertarians hate regulation, but there should be laws against things like that, taking money against foreign entities, or just getting millions of dollars through these super PACs from corporations and different lobby groups. Of course, you're never going to get that passed, because all the people who have the power to control that or make things fair or not going to do that because that's how they got elected in the first place. So as far as also, I just wanted to add about the convention. Our convention is in February. You can attend, even if you're not a libertarian. You don't have to be a registered libertarian. You don't even have to be a party member. You can just come and meet everybody and talk to everybody. Of course, if you want to help nominate a candidate for the next election cycle, you do have to be an NJLP member, and that's a member of the New Jersey Libertarian Party, not the National Party. It's only $20, and you become a member, and then you can vote at our convention. You can vote in meetings, etc., and start really getting involved in the party if that's something any of you are interested in. But I'm excited to see who's going to be nominated to run next year, because I think we're doing better every year recently.
Yes,
Where's
I
the convention?
agree.
The convention
Jackson
is
asked, where is the convention?
Yeah, so the convention is usually somewhere in Central Jersey. Dustin and I are
Hey,
actually
direct
both
him,
on the we're both on the convention committee. So it's probably going to be in the same place that we had last year, which is Rutgers, in a room of Rutgers. But we'll announce that probably in a couple of weeks where it's going to be. But it's most likely going to be in Rutgers in Central Jersey.
Yeah, go to our website. Go on the website and get on there and follow that, and follow our social media on Facebook, X, or whatever. We talk about these things all the time. And if you really, really want to be in the know and updated, join. It's $20, and if you're a student, it is free. So that's the best way. You will be able to, you're going to get those emails, find out about all that stuff. You'll know when the convention is. If we're going to have speakers, like that kind of thing, give you something to look forward to. You can plan for it. It's just about an all-day thing. Totally worth going to. To be a member, it's $20, and if you're a student, it's free. So if you're a student, you're interested in the Libertarian Party, like, it's a no-brainer. All you have to do is give us your information, and you're good to go.
Yeah, and I did put the website in the chat. I don't know why it commented like 5 different times from all the accounts that is linked to this live stream, but it's njlp.org. And so that's the website, very easy to remember. And from there, you can follow all the Facebook, Twitter, whatever. And then you can also join at njlp.org. Only $20, and you don't have to be a registered libertarian. It's not a requirement. We actually have plenty of members that are registered as Democrats or Republicans because they want to participate in the primaries, and they can't because the Libertarian Party is not an official party in the state of New Jersey. So it's not a requirement to be a member. And as far as, I think we got another question. Can we talk about Israel? I would love to, but it is almost 11 p.m. at night. So we are going to continue the candidate live stream every Thursday. We did a special one today, but so this Thursday we'll go live again at 6:30, same place, all the same Twitter, Facebook, wherever you're watching this from, and ask again, and then we'll talk about it then. But it is a little late to get into the topic of Israel because that is a big topic. We could probably talk about that alone for 2-3 hours.
Yeah, and unlike most politicians, we're real people and we have jobs. We have to get up for work tomorrow.
Yes, jobs and families and responsibilities. But if this is your first time here, the person who wrote that, I don't know what your tag name is, Polly Shore. Generally, well, I don't want to speak for anyone else, but most, if not all, libertarians are anti-war and non-interventionists. So we don't support military or resources such as guns and things like that to be given to countries to pick winners or losers in a war, because we do. That's what we do. But that's just a overall libertarian position on it. Non-interventionist. All right. So unless you have anything else to say, Dustin, I think we're going to end it here at 11 p.m. It's getting late.
Yep, that sounds good.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And, join the Libertarian Party. It's only $20 at njlp.org. We'll go live again on Thursdays at 6:30 p.m. Same places. Ask your questions, make your statements. If you want to run for office, go to njlp.org, and you do have to be a member to run for office, and then fill out the candidate form. You'll get an email from me, and then we'll go from there. So keep up the fight, everybody. And Dustin, I hope you run for office next year. Take a break, but I hope you run for office.
I might. All right, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night.